Sit back and relax while you listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Dan and Steve, we take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, you will notice the bottom part of the screen is blank again. Steve said he was a little bit too tired, I guess, after his workday. He's still having a hard time adjusting, as if you listened to the last one, you could hear him talk about how tough it's been to actually adjust everything. So that's still a little bit of a concern for him right now. So it's Dan and I. We figured with no Steve, we were going to do some 30K stuff, but with him not here, we figured we'll go back to some 40K, and we should be getting 30K in next week when he joins us again. Since we kind of changed what we were going to originally talk about, we decided we'll go through Custodes tonight. We're part of them. We're not getting through the whole thing. There's a whole lot more there than we thought. But we'll start them tonight because Dan is much more comfortable with that. I'm not quite as much, but since I haven't had a chance to review any of the other ones, we thought that would be a good idea.
It's a good first impressions, you know? Usually I'm the one doing the first impressions.
First impressions, no, you got to review things first. Because first impressions, when you're talking about full armies, give bad viewpoints overall because you don't know how things always work. That's why I like to review it first. We will be getting that Votan episode out. We found out it's Fridays or Saturdays. We have to make that work, so it probably won't be this week. But next week we should be able to swing that. And now, on to the show. All right. Well, you got what you wanted. You suggested Custodes. I was like, nah, let's do 30K. And then, I don't know, you made Steve too tired. You have like a small voodoo doll with him somewhere.
To be fair, he was tired before I suggested Custodes. He was tired before I suggested it. I was
probably tired the whole time. I just imagine the whole thing where he says he's always angry, so like I'm always tired, and he just falls asleep on spot.
Yeah, pretty much.
But all right.
He is building those stupid I feel like when I say it sounds like a bacteria. The Bucephali?
No, Bucephali.
Bucephali.
It's pronounced Bucephali. One of our friends who is actually Greek does correct us on all of our pronunciations of things like that. So it's Bucephali. He's building them, though. He's building them for city-states. So he's putting them to be his live Minotaurs.
Actually, I mean, he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
He's got the rib cage all good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for my Bucephali so I can actually run them as undead Minotaurs, which is what their intended purpose was. As Haslia intended. But I don't know when I'll get my hands on mine. It might be another week or so. I have to find out exactly when they're coming in. But we do have that. You are off to the corner.
Oh, I didn't. Oh,
yeah, that's what I tell you. There you go. Much more centered now. All right. But like I said, tonight the goal is we're going to start the Custodes. I don't know exactly. As always, I don't know how far we're going to get. Since GW doesn't do this where you have characters, you have essentially like battle line and like everyone else. They don't break you down like the way it used to. We can't definitively say, oh, we ended at fast attack or elites or anything like that. Yeah. That's not a thing anymore. So we're going to go for a while. You'll see in the show notes exactly how far we get. And for the next episode, we'll hopefully pick up the rest. This should be one that we should probably be able to get done in 2. We'll have to see exactly how long it takes.
2. It's around 40.
It's around 40, but you never know. Some things might take longer, or if we just end up recording a little bit shorter on one of the days, but that's fine. I know you could talk about them for super amounts of time, so we have to see exactly how long it takes you for all of that.
So, I'll limit my excitedness.
There is no chance of that.
No chance in hell. Yeah. No chance in hell.
All right. But I think without much further ado, we will go ahead and get started on that. So, if this is the first one of these that you've watched, we do a brief overview, we go through the army rules, and then we go through the different units, discussing our thoughts on them, where they sit currently in somewhat in the meta, but also just in terms of list building, all of that. We take it from both a competitive and non-competitive perspectives. And we, GW did a clean up today of things. Not really an FAQ. They didn't do that at all, but more of cleaning up a few things. So some of the stuff is actually going to change. Once full books are out, we'll revisit. And if any giant changes happen, we'll discuss that when it's all said and done to talk about it as an overall sweeping thing.
By the way,
yes,
we got the answer to the Torment Bringer from the Demons from about 5 days ago. I don't know if you saw it.
No,
the Torment Bringer is just a combination of 2 of the Seeker Chariots, which is a dual kit itself that also builds the Hellflayer.
Got it. Okay. No, I didn't see that. It's very good.
What the hell? It's so bad. Why?
Yeah. Well, that's all right. No, I've been busy working on other stuff and painting and things like that, so I've been a little bit lax on looking through some things, but that's all right. All right. Why don't you do the brief? You
Of
heard those
course.
words. Overview.
I promise. I promise we'll be brief. So, for those who don't know, the Custodes, Henry Cavill's faction, if you will, Custodes are essentially gene crafted specifically by the Emperor himself. So, these are basically your Space Marines plus. Even though like Grey Knights would be like Space Marines plus, these are like the actual Space Marines plus. They are faster, stronger, better, more loyal, uncorruptible, still can be puppeted. AKA, I'm not going to spoil 30K books. Still can be puppeted because Chaos Demons or Chaos Gods are very powerful. But they are essentially the exemplars. They are the golden, the pun intended, the golden exemplars of the Imperium. Mm-hmm. They were also the Emperor's executioners when he had to kill off the Thunder Warriors. And also when the Primaris came about, they also started executing some Primaris because the Gene Seed stock wasn't great. So these guys are essentially the guardians of the Imperium. And then like slight lore note, they also try to guard the Emperor. Of course, they popped up around 8th edition, mostly because what happened was after the Emperor got unlived. No, what the hell?
I don't even know what you're aiming for right now. Tell you the
yeah,
truth.
what the hell would you call the Emperor? He's not dead. He's not alive.
Well, no, he is alive, but he's in like the world's worst coma.
Yeah, essentially. So after that happened, the Custodians blamed themselves. They took a 10,000. Yes, they should. 10,000 year basically trauma trip, and then when Gilliman came about, he basically said, "Man up, suck it up. You did your job. It didn't work. You do something better." And now they're back out in the galaxy doing what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's them. That's essentially them.
I don't remember which heresy book it was. It was one of probably in the first 10.
I probably remember, but go ahead.
I want to say it was from Sons of Horus. It might have been Word Bearers. One of them was standing there watching like a custode fight. He's talking about how the prowess and all this kind of stuff. And he said, actually, he's like, after a little bit, he's like, and then I noticed how just alone he is.
Yes.
And how solitary, and essentially like, I actually feel bad for this man because he is 100% alone.
Yes.
Where he has no brothers, no one to fight with or fight for kind of thing.
It's not, they are a brotherhood. They fight with each other, but each one is their own kind of, it's like the idea for those who play 30K, each one is a Centurion stat line. It's what it comes down to. It's a Centurion. And for those who play 40K, each one is a captain. That's what it comes down to. It's funny though, for those who actually want to read about Custodians, and I recommend, there's one series I highly recommend, and I usually don't when we do these armies. Well, Necrons, I did recommend, what was his face? Trajann, the Trajann series.
Yes.
I will highly recommend you read the Valerian and Aleya series, The Shadows of the Watch. Or The Shadows of the Watcher, because it basically follows Valerian and Aleya, because Custodians can do like detective jobs essentially in Terra. That's actually what they can do. And Valerian and Aleya are essentially your quote unquote detective, and Valerian is the diplomat, and Aleya is what's the word to she is the angry, silent, destructive person. Basically, one of the Terran nobles basically waved at her, and she threw him through a cabinet.
So it's like a really strong example of good cop, bad cop.
Yes, very much so. But it is quite hilarious.
All right. Well, again, if you are following along on any podcatcher, obviously don't look while you're going along. But if you're on YouTube, or if you're sitting somewhere where you can watch us on YouTube, we are going to be displaying up all these things as we go along. And we are going to start with the Army Rule. Army Rule, very simple. Martial katas. In the past, in last edition, they made it very confusing because you had a variety of pieces, and then you could select subparts and things like that.
I got this.
Yeah.
So last edition, there were 6 katas, right? Mm-hmm. Each kata had 2 forms.
Yep.
You would select 3 katas to do during the game. So out of the 6, you chose 3. Every turn, you did 1/2 of the kata. But if you were a shield host, you can once per game do both stances, not counting the other stance, and you can go in any order. But once you do both katas, you can't go back to it. And if you choose to go to another kata, you can't go back to it unless there's a stratagem to allow you to go back to the other kata.
Yeah.
It was... Exactly. Even my child agrees it was very, very confusing. I don't know if that came up on the mic.
Oh, I absolutely came up. These are good microphones. It comes up perfectly.
She was upset at last edition at how ridiculously confusing it was.
I'm sure that's
but
what
Dave,
it was.
Dave, explain to us the new, much more easier, simpler.
It is much better. So it's at the start of the fight phase. Notice it doesn't say yours or your opponent's. It's just when the fight phase occurs on either side. You select one of the stances below. That's active till the end of the phase. So they're only really helping you at that time. And it says it's active for your army, and each unit from your army gains the relative ability. So you can't intermix or anything like that as they put this. So the first stance, Capteris stance, each time a melee attack targets the unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So -1 to hit on your entire army. Gross.
Yes.
Daikatari stance, melee weapons have sustained hits 1, or Rendax, you have lethal hits. So you can decide what you need. If you are struggling to hurt where the thing is, lethal hits is a good option. If you can essentially get to it easily, sustained hits, and if it could actually hurt you, -1 to hit you.
Yep. And it's very simplified. It buffs the army. And I kind of like it because you play the game of, I got charged by a knight, but I also got charged by but I also got charged by kind of a horde of gene stealers, right? Or I don't know, whatever. A Norn Queen, let's say. Do I want the -1 to hit because I can reduce the hits in? Or do I want sustained hits to try to clear out the horde because I know the Norn Queen I could probably survive? So it's kind of cool that you play this game. It's much more fun to play this than it was last edition, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's an easier game to play as well because the choice may not always be 100% obvious, but it'll be much more obvious than it was before, and it's easier for your opponent. I can keep track of, these are the 3 things you can do. I can track that. I can't track 6 different things that you could easily get into. That was just too much.
And then go back to or double up on.
Yeah, because then you had stratagems that could let you do that, which made it
was insane. It was insane. I liked the idea. Don't get me wrong. It was just too much for that edition.
It was the level of complication they were putting into the game that was too complicated. All right.
This is much more.
Yeah. Detachment rule. Go ahead very, very quick.
Now, this is very quick. Yeah, this one's very quick, very easy, and what makes Custodes the exact 50% win rate that they are. Models from your army, Adeptus Custodes, have a 4+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. Not psychic, not just straight mortal wounds. You have a 4-up feel no pain. Or 4-up, 4-up feel no pain. And what you'll notice with this army, the Custodes specifically, not sisters, they actually have a different feel no pain. What you'll notice that they have a 4-up invul. So you're pretty much always going to have that 50-50 shot of taking the wound or not, especially against mortal wounds. And what's funny is this works really well against some armies and absolute trash against others. I know I was showing Dave some of the statistics because this goes back to our previous conversation of how stats are really cool. How, Custodes, they win, I think, 67% of the time against Thousand Sons. Makes sense. Thousand Sons rely on mortal wounds through psychic powers, and they're just like, it's a 50-50 shot. But then they hit Gene Stealer Colts or Eldar, and even though Eldar toss out mortal wounds, but Gene Stealer Colts just toss out wounds.
Yeah. And
they do it cheaper and much more effective, so then all of a sudden that 4-up, not as important because you're still going to get wounds through. So it's actually kind of cool to see. It's a gatekeeper army, I think was the word we used before.
Yes, it still fits that. So to me, maybe this is a final thought thing, but I'll do it very quickly.
Yeah.
Custodes are absolutely a gatekeeper army. They are extremely tough for a lot of armies to deal with. So much like Knights were in the past, where Knights weren't necessarily always the best army, but if you struggled against them, or your army necessarily didn't have the tools available, and some factions don't, or you don't have the right tools available, you're not getting past that. As we're going to see with some of the rules they have, if you're sort of a close combat army, this might be a very huge uphill battle.
Yes.
Certain pieces like that. So they're very gatekeepery. So this is one of the factions where I think when you look at the percentages of wins, there's a lot of hidden information in that.
Yes. So for example, against melee armies, they are the premier, ironically, versus world leaders. They're the premier, one of the premier melee armies due to some of their stratagems. We'll talk about them in a little bit.
Yeah.
But against shooting armies, an army that they do not win against, Astra Militarum. Because Astra Militarum, their shots have lethal hits. And sure, you could toss 1,000,000 las guns, but if their 6s auto wound and they're supposed to wound me on 6s, but if their 6s auto wound on hits, my toughness doesn't matter. And you just start plinking off wounds. So it's actually kind of cool to see that, like Space Marines, both of the moments hurts. but then you face off against demons and you're like, oh no, you charged me. Who cares?
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting. They're gatekeepery, but they're also weirdly like balanced against. It's weird.
No.
Anyway,
Wait,
gatekeeper is.
I don't agree with what you're about to say there, because you're saying that, and you beat quite well the last Militarum player you went against.
No, that was a close game. That was just,
no, it wasn't. The end result was not as close as you think.
The end result because of turn 5.
No,
that night
yes.
whisked.
So yeah. When the game is over,
yes.
So I know I fully agree. I do think they're a bit gatekeeper. I think there's a lot of armies that don't do well at all against them, and their only reason they don't look to be one of the top is because a few of the armies that are above them, who are above everyone else, are well above them as well.
Yeah, well above them.
But
exactly.
if it wasn't for those armies, these guys would be easily into the mid 60s against everyone else. I think fully. Because even if you shoot, you have good toughness, you have good survivability, and you always have a 4-up no matter what. Nothing gets through all of it because you either have invul or feel no pain against mortals, something. So it can be very dice dependent. If you just have a bad day, that's one thing. But if your dice are somewhat good, you always have a shot. All right, let's get into some stratagems here. Let me change my notes. There we go. Have we ever looked up what the colors were? Every time we do this, I mean to do it, and I always forget.
I know, and you always mention, but these are all blue. Oh, no, sorry.
No.
All of them are green except for 2 blue.
Yeah, I don't remember which one is. That's fine.
Although these are all battle tactics, and the other ones are strategic and epic. No, but then epic deed. Yeah, I have no idea.
It's fine. So first one is just Slayer of Nightmares for 1 CP. They have a couple 2 CP, so this is one of the first factions we're going to see where it gets expensive. So this is during the fight phase, when one of your units has not been selected to fight, so before someone fights. Until the end of fight phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets a monster or a vehicle, you add 1 to the wound. So if you're going against something big, vehicles and monsters, +1 to wound it.
Yeah.
Based off of some of the things I saw, it can absolutely be very good because some of your weapons were a little bit middling for very high toughness.
They hit strength 9.
Yeah.
The highest melee strength, I think, is strength 9, which is the axe. So it absolutely does help.
Yeah. They're very good against things that don't have the super high toughness, but if you do, they need a little something extra, and this gets them that extra. Okay. How about Avenge the Fallen?
Avenge the Fallen. Sorry, give me a second. I'm burping up like lemonade. So it started the fight phase again. So this is one Adeptus Custodes unit from your army that is below its starting strength and has not been selected to fight. Mm-hmm. So until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attack characteristics of melee weapons equipped by models in that unit. And if that unit is below half strength, and until the end of the phase, add 2 to the attack characteristics of those melee weapons instead.
Gross.
So basically, you're getting. It used to be more complicated, by the way.
Oh, I'm sure.
I forgot.
Everything
it was so. No. This was bad. Like it was like if you lost half, but then a quarter. It was a pain in the butt. Now it's just below starting strength, below half starting strength, which is hilarious. It does actually it does build up. Someone did the math on Reddit, and honestly, I don't remember. Okay. But it's essentially if you have a 5-man team, it starts paying off when you lose 2 of them.
Okay.
When you lose 1, it doesn't really pay off because the amount of attacks you throw out should do well. When you start losing 2 to 3, then it starts to flip.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is an army that your squads tend to be on the smaller side, so getting a few extra attacks is going to actually start being more appreciable. Because you didn't necessarily... I mean, you have a good amount. Let's be honest. They have tons of attacks.
Yes.
But when you lose a guy, you are losing, therefore, a lot of attacks. Where in another army, you might lose 2 or 3 guys to lose that amount of attacks. So.
Exactly.
All right. Unwavering Sentinel. So this is their first 2-pointer. It's the start of your fight phase. As you're going to notice, they have quite a bit of that. 1 unit from your army. It cannot be a sister's unit because they can't have Anathema Psykana, sorry. That's within range of objective, gives them fights first.
Yep.
So you have to be within range of an objective. Can't be a sister's model, but for 2 CP, you get fights first.
Do you want to explain fight first real quick?
Yes.
I've already explained this 3 to 4 times already to players, and it's just I'm getting bored of explaining it.
So the easiest way to think about the way combat works in this game is, for the moment, that there are 2 fight levels. There is fights first and fights. At all instances of these levels, the defender always chooses first. That is always true. The difference is, the reason a lot of people didn't necessarily notice this or kind of see it that way is, normally only the models that charge in have fights first, so they all swung anyway. Then you went to the normal people who are already locked in to fight, and the defender chose first. The difference is here, if you're a Custodes unit on that objective, and you give yourself fights first when the opponent charges in on their turn, you are the defender, you get to choose the first unit, and since you're in the fights first section, and one of your units has it, they may swing first. It doesn't come up much, but in this army, this is one of the strongest tactics they have. That means if you only charge, if they have the CP and you only say make one good charge, they're going to swing first, and their weapons tend to be very, very good. Yes. So this is something you have to kind of go at overwhelming odds against. And they do have ways to get this as
and
a
it does go
cost.
back and forth. It does go back. Like, let's say I
it goes back and forth after that.
And you had two chargers, it would go me, you.
Yes.
There's one more thing I wanted to add with this, and now I completely forgot what
I know you have captains.
The reason it's confusing. Yeah, the reason it's confusing, by the way, is because last edition there was fight first, and remember fight last, and that used to be attacker first in the charge phase, and then defender in the non-charge phase.
Yes,
that's why it gets confusing. Now they just flatlined it defender first, but defenders usually don't get fight first, so that's why.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not many ways to get it, but this is an army that reliably has it, and that's why if you're a close combat army, you really struggle against these guys, because if they can save their CP for that, they can get their swings in first, and a lot of times, your close combat units want to be the one swinging first because survivability isn't necessarily as good, or you really need those extra attacks. There's usually something you need. That's why you were charging. They stop you from it. All right.
Arcane genetic alchemy.
Yep.
This is your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase. Just after an enemy unit has selected its target. So you have to wait for someone to select the target to pull this CP. Essentially, it's one Custodian's infantry unit, so not a Anathema Psykana unit. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated to the model in your unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of the attack. This is a very powerful ability. It seems like not much.
No, it seems like a lot.
Which is fun. Well, okay. So it seems like not much because damage -1 doesn't seem like a lot.
It does.
But the reason it's a lot is because we're 3 wounds. If we were 2 wounds and damage -1, then damage 3 becomes damage 2. Damage 2 becomes damage 1. Still takes 2 to pop. But because we're 3 wounds base, I think it adds more to the value of this.
Yeah.
Because there are some 2 damage weapons that become 1 damage. Who cares about them? But those 3 damage weapons becoming 2 damage, right? And now not killing us in one blow is super, super important. And 3 damage weapons in melee are not common, but they are in those melee units that are going to hit us. And then I was going to say something else.
3 to 2 is big. That absolutely is. I think the 2 to 1 is also very, very big because that is like the more common weapon you're going to see. So normally I would take you out on 2. Now I need 3 total things to get through on you. And I probably had a decent amount of those. My 3 down to the 2 definitely hurts a lot, but those I might be saving for like your vehicles or something a little bigger. If I'm trying to take down your 3 wound or maybe 4 wound guys, putting me down to most of my weapons right then, because then the phase counting as like a damage 1, because I'm on average on a 1 or a 2, means it's taking me forever to get through you. I'm just not going to throw enough dice. That's really what this does.
Or usually just ignore that unit. I pop it
after
for one.
That, yeah.
After that, you're just like, oh, okay, I'll shoot everything else.
Can you get this to a 0 cost?
Yes.
Okay, just
but it's
with
only
the captain
once
ability?
when we get to the captain ability. Yeah, it's only. We'll talk about the captain when we get to him.
Okay.
But usually, why you take? I've actually changed. Remember how I took 2 blade champions?
Yes.
I subbed a blade champ. I changed my list slightly, but I included a shield captain because you need that 0 CP because you saw how many units I had after that game.
Yes.
And just having that 0 CP is much more flexible. Blade champions are great. We'll talk about them, but
you have 2 expensive ones. 2 sitting on 2. That's actually that's a lot.
There's another 2. Let me just skip ahead. No, there's one. Okay, there's one.
All right, so Vigil Unending. It's your command phase. It's one of your Custodes units. Can't be a sister's unit. 1 destroyed model, excluding character models, is returned to the unit with its full wounds remaining. No more than once per battle per unit.
Yep. I've never used this, and I feel like I should. I think I keep forgetting about this stupid ability.
It is exceedingly good. However, I can see why you necessarily haven't, because this is an addition where you get very, very little CP. So, they might charge me soon. I got to save 2. they're going to fire the whole army at this unit on the objective. I need the
I need
-1.
two.
You don't necessarily always have it, where another army might use this every single round.
Exactly. And I think now that I added the shield captain to my list, now I'm going to be like, oh, okay, now this might be, I have like, 1 CP, 2 CP. I'm going to make this free. Now I could use this for 1 CP.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really great ability. Adding a 4-wound Alerus back to the squad, beautiful. But you need the CP for other shit.
Yeah, I can see sometimes where it might not feel like the best choice, even though it is a very good choice. Although if you're running low on models somewhere, put it on there, and now you have a better shot at keeping the objective for your charges.
And it doesn't say engagement range. It doesn't say engagement range. So you could literally just pop one back into the fight.
Yes. Yeah, because no indication otherwise of requirements on that.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
Sworn Guardians. Oh, this one's cool because this actually switches from the demon one. So this is in your movement phase. 1 Custodes unit, not Anathema Psykana, who's in range of an objective marker. Basically, you sticky it. This makes it easy. It's you sticky it until the start of any end of any turn.
Yeah.
What makes this interesting is it's not your command phase; it's your movement phase, which I have not used as effectively as I should. But what's cool about this is you can run to a middle objective and sticky it because it's your movement phase.
Yeah.
Which is very good to play into the next turn. But yeah, no, it's just kind of neat.
No, it's a good one.
It's movement.
I would not that they need it, but I would like to see a clarification that you can do it in the middle of the move, because that's a rarity in this game of something.
I didn't even think of that.
Because you said in your advance. I was thinking through the middle. That's what I assumed you meant.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
But to me, technically by the rules, you absolutely could. Although it feels weird because you're interrupting in the middle, and I don't think you really should. I would like them just to come out and say, whichever way it is, just say definitively. Because to me, that's a point where someone could argue, I was in range as I went across. It is still my movement phase because it's not beginning a phase, end a phase. Because notice, it's range of an objective. Oh, wait. Well, no, they did clarify.
You have to be within range of an objective marker.
But that you control. So you have to already have it. And you check control at end of phase.
End of the phase.
Unless,
oh, no. It might be end of turn now. Hold on. Hold on. I think this is end of turn now. So I can't even advance onto the objective. Hold on one moment.
Yeah, check that.
I guess it'd be under objective? Probably. Is this going to be under the car? I think this is going to be
probably under control.
Objective? There we go. That's how you spell it. Jesus Christ, Dan.
That's all right. We were talking about something earlier. Oh, because my parents got a new car. They got a Hyundai Tucson. And I told my wife to look up what it looked like. And I said, good luck with either of those.
Yeah, the spelling, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't
consolidate. Objective control.
Mission. The player controls the objective at the end of any phase.
Oh, end of any phase. Perfect. Okay, so it's the same as last edition. Thank God.
So here's...
So then this is weird. This is in your movement phase.
So... Okay, so is it actually more of a... All right, so here's the question then. All right, I have an objective. I control it now. It is now a new phase. If I technically don't control it now until the end of the phase has occurred?
No, so what happens
I check again?
You check again. You check every phase. That's how it was last edition. And the wording seems to be exactly the same, so it's the same. You literally, so let's say in the shooting phase, I own that, not shooting. Let's say, in the shooting phase, you own the objective in the movement phase, right? Mm-hmm. I move into the objective. I still don't own it, but I shoot you off of it, right? Mm-hmm. I check in the shooting phase. Do I own it? Let's say I still don't, right?
Yeah.
So then I charge you, all right? Let's say I kill enough of you to now pull your, to make my OC better.
I'm fine with all that.
Yeah.
So here's my scenario. Because technically by their wording, and again, this is getting very nitty gritty in their wording, I'm on the objective. You're nowhere near around. Who cares where you are? I control it. Mm-hmm. So, for all intents and purposes, do I control it until I check again? Or do I only have control when I check? Here's the distinction of why.
Yeah, talk to me.
If let's say you had an objective at the end of last turn. So you controlled it at the end of last turn. Now your unit is going to say would that work? Let me think. Let's say they want to sticky it. They could sticky it and move. Do they need another unit there? So let's say you had a unit in one spot and the other unit's going to run past, and they might control a little bit, sticking it then. It's weird the way they put this, the way they control. I guess you essentially have control at moments. Yeah. I can't think of the more I think about it, I don't think of a weird condition. I do think the conditions actually probably work pretty well because control is checked at the end. So you would grab it and then rush away and you're fine, but you would have to have it before. So yes, you do hold on until you check again and then you could lose it. Makes sense. You kind of don't need it otherwise, but all right. That was a little bit of an odd diatribe there. And I might cut some of that out because I think by the end, I think I agreed with what my original assessment was. But we'll see if all that stays in as we move to enhancements.
These enhancements are great too. I do like them a lot.
Yeah.
I always forget they're all cool.
All right. We're going to start with Unstoppable Destroyer.
Yeah.
Wait.
What?
Oh, wait. I cut off the points. There we go. I only saw 2 for the points. We can look at points as well.
I was like, wait, no, you're right.
Yeah, okay. 25 points. That's what I was looking for. So it's a Custodes model. Can't be a Sisters model. Each time the bearer ends a charge move, select one enemy unit within engagement range, roll d6, 2 to 5 d3 mortal wounds, 6 3 mortal wounds. Also, once per battle, after bearer's unit ends a charge move, all enemies within 6 take a battle shock. Mortal wounds are a great thing in this edition to do. You only really get feel no pain ever against mortal wounds, and most people, unless they're Custodes, don't really have feel no pain. There's spots where they have it, but it's rare.
It's a nice extra. 25 points, though. This is one of the least taken ones from statistically. This is one of the least taken ones because 25 points is much. If this is so, to give you an idea, this was the old one that you can move. I think it was 6 inches during coherency in any direction you wanted. So this is the one where the shield captain would bounce from squad to squad, whirling his blade hilariously. Yeah, this is the least taken one, sadly. Most because it's 25 points, I think. Yeah. And there are better 25-point ones.
All right. We'll talk about the cheap one.
Inspirational Exemplar.
Yep,
people like this one. Yeah, so this one is, again, Adeptus Custodians. Let me actually say, it's all Adeptus Custodians models. No Psykana Anathema models are able to take any of the things, or maybe that comes later, but just to make it easy, it's all Adeptus Custodians, never Anathema Psykana. So anyway, you basically make the bearer a leadership characteristic of 5 up, which is
Were they
huge.
Normally 6?
Yes.
Okay.
The whole army, I think, is 6. He said Trajann, I think, is 5, obviously. Yeah, they're all leadership 6, even the shield captains. So you make them 5. That's great. And once per battle, at the start of any phase, you can select one friendly Adeptus Custodians unit that is battle shocked. Within 12, that unit is no longer battle shocked. And that's pretty great. So for 10 points, and this has happened before. I think Dave even watched the game where I battle shocked Trajan's unit, and I'm like, nope. I'm going to spend 1 CP and make them not battle shocked.
Yeah.
This is big. You don't have to spend the 1 CP. So if you have 10 points over, people do take this. I think this is the 3rd most taken one.
Yeah, I could see that because this is right now, since you can't choose individual models to make up the points difference, 10 points left over, this is the only thing you can spend 10 points on. If that's all you have, throw this on.
Yep.
Veiled Blade. Veiled Blade's 25 points. It's, again, a Custodes model. You add 2 to the characteristics of the bearer's melee weapons. And once per battle, at the start of the command phase, you triple that particular model's objective control characteristic. So for 25 points, you're going to get 2 extra attacks at all times. And if you are pretty much tied on an objective, you get to triple it once to grab that objective from them.
So this one trades, so to give you an idea, this one trades first place, always taken, between this and Ceaseless Hunter. This is most popular next to Ceaseless Hunter. Depends on the army building.
Yeah. If you're going heavy with the melee, I can see how this is very, very good.
Honestly, and I think statistic-wise, most people take the Veiled Blade on the Blade Champion. And when we go over him, we'll talk the biggest glow-up ever in probably any edition. I swear to God, this guy went from 0 to hero. But most people put it on the Blade Champion for what he does.
Yeah.
And triple. Most Custodians OC is 2. So going from 2 to 6 beats out tanks. I think tanks are normally 5.
Depends on the tanks. You can see 5. Yeah. And remember, it's him plus anyone he's with has a couple of points as well. So he goes to 6. You at least got another Custodes. You're now at 8. You're beating out certain squads.
Yeah.
You're beating out a variety of the tanks. So you're taking something that before you were losing.
And Ceaseless Hunter.
30 points.
Which is, this is the most expensive. This actually was weird because this one is almost kind of like what Unstoppable Destroyer used to be, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, again, that is Custodes model. So the bearer unit is the bearer's unit is able to shoot and declare a charge in the turn which it fell back. Sorry, it is able to shoot and declare a charge in a turn which it fell back. Massive. And then once for battle, when an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move within 9 inches of the bearer, if that bearer's unit is not within engagement range of one of our enemy units, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches.
So if you don't want to get charged, you can walk away.
Yeah.
Or if you do want to get charged because you're going to fight first, then walk up.
Walk up and take an objective.
Yeah.
So the reason this one is, this is one of the. So again, it's Veiled Blade usually gets put in a Blade Champion, statistic wise, and is very popular. And if not Veiled Blade or no Blade Champion is in the list, which does happen, the weird thing about Custodes is they're very besides Trajann, everything has been taken so far in tournaments.
Yeah.
Except for the Land Raider has been taken. So everything except the ugly Contemptor. This is another very popular one. I saw on the actually Tacoma, I think the guy had this, and he actually moved his unit onto an objective. Took it straight from the Eldar, which actually got him the primary win. That's how he actually got into the first top 2 places. But also the ability to fall back and shoot and charge. That's great.
Yeah. The second part's amazing because I said you can go grab objectives that you're not on currently because it in no way limits the way in which you move. And the first part, you're stuck in on a unit that they know they put you into something heavy that you're not necessarily cutting through. You can leave and go charge the squishier unit that you really need to get to.
Yep.
One good option is tying people down. This keeps them from getting tied down.
And Ceaseless Hunter, I think, statistically was taken mostly on bike captains because of their ability to fly. Yeah.
Yeah. You can move a lot further.
Exactly.
And you can... That 6-inch move, since you can move further, you can help engineer when you know they're going to have to move towards you to get that bit that you need. All right. So we are going to start getting into the units themselves. And
of course, it doesn't start with HQs, which is, again, very
annoying.
That's
weird because the other ones start with HQs.
That's
all right. Now,
at least it starts with the most normal thing.
Yes. Now, for these, we are going to go through in the order that they have for the index. We won't get to it this particular episode, but in the next one, when we do the other units they have, we're going to do that in that order as well. Yeah. So I know some of these might be a bit out of order, but we're just going to follow exactly what it says here.
And the good news is their melee. So the one cool thing about this army is, at least a simple thing, is their melee weapons really don't change. A guarding spear is a guarding spear, no matter who has it. A sentinel blade is a sentinel blade, whoever who has it.
Yes.
And then there's the axe as well, but you don't really change the weapons, which is kind of nice. What really changes are the abilities and what they do.
Yeah. All right, so starting with the guard, looking at these guys. These are Custodian Guards. They are They're 45 points a model, essentially. So you could take 4 for 180, 5 for 225, 9 or 10. Those are weird numbers.
So I hate it. Here's the reason why. Boxes coming. By the way, when we talk about Wardens, I can't wait to hear your reaction about them. There's a reason about the size of the squad. So the reason is Custodian Guards come in squads, boxes of 5, right? The reason they did 4, 5, 9, 10 is because you can build a shield captain from one of those 5. So you have 4 guard, right? And then 1 shield captain that you built. 5 guard, or you guys no shield captain. 9, so that's 2 boxes, and then you built 1 as a shield captain, or all 10. So I hate it because there's no more 3 model squads, which I absolutely enjoyed.
Yeah.
But it does make sense because they're expecting you to build a shield captain from one of the custodians in the box.
Yeah. Yeah, so they said 4, 5, 9, or 10, but it's essentially 45 points a guy is the easiest way to look at it. Move 6, is that pretty standard for all of them?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Other than obviously if you're a biker.
Fun fact, the stats are not going to change much until you get to the Terminators.
Cool. All right, so move 6, toughness 6, 2 up save, but everyone's got 4 up invul, so we know 4 up invul. Yep. 3 wounds a guy, leadership 6, 2 objective points each. Is deep strike on most things as well?
Everything in the army has deep strike.
Got it. So they can all deep strike. They have the ability to stand Vigil. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll a wound or roll 1. If you're within range of an objective marker that you control, instead you just get to reroll the wound. And Sentinel Storm, once per battle in your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, you can shoot again. They have some war gear, so if they take a Presidium shield, you get extra wounds, so you could be at 4 wounds. And the Vexilla adds +1 to the objective control characteristics of the models in the unit. They come base with Guardian Spears, and any number of them can have their Guardian Spear replaced with a Sentinel Blade and a Presidium shield, so you can go sword and board. And your Guardian Spear could be replaced with a Vexilla and a Misericordia, or Vexilla, Misericordia, and a Presidium shield.
Yes.
Why? If you can get the Vexilla and the Misericordia, why wouldn't you also take the Presidium shield?
Modeling. Some people didn't model it that way.
Okay, because I was to say that's objectively worse. You could have the same things and have a +1.
Now maybe when points come out for war gear, now we're talking. But that's why.
Yeah, when we started to pay for any of this stuff, then there's a reason. But for right now, we just load them down.
Yeah, just take shield. Yep.
All right, so for ranged weapons, this depends on what you have. So I'll talk ranged and melee sort of interspersed. If you have a Guardian Spear, it is both a ranged and a melee weapon. At ranged, it's 24-inch range, 2 shots on 2s. On 2s is going to be true for everything. We'll say if they hit on anything other than 2s.
Yeah, it's always going to be 2s.
Strength 4, AP -1, 2 damage. So, and it's an assault weapon. So, a good bolter is essentially what that is. The spear and melee get 5 attacks, strength 7, AP -2, 2 damage. So, a very good profile with a lot of attacks. If you swap out for the Sentinel Blade, then it becomes in range, an assault pistol at 12-inch range, 2 shots, strength 4, AP -1, still flat 2 damage. So same in everything, but half the range. And in melee, still 5 attacks. It's strength 6 instead of 7, AP -2, and 1 damage. If you do that, though, you could also take a Misericordia. Remember the way you... instead, you could also do the Misericordia. That's the Vexilla, and you get a Misericordia. That one is, so you'd have no more guns. 5 attacks, again, always on 2s. It's strength 5 this time, AP -2, 1 damage. You're only going to really care about probably 1 Vexilla, so I'd probably do currently the 1 model with the Vexilla, Misericordia, and Presidium Shield.
Yep.
After that, I know you tend to intermix your squads, right?
So most people, so this is split amongst the community. Mm-hmm. In Heresy, by the way, you can't split them, which is very funny. It's either you have spears or shields, which is great.
Yeah.
But in 40K, you can. And so I'm always of the belief, because of how the game is played and because there are 4 damage and 3 damage weapons, I usually take for every 2 spears, 1 shield. So, for example, in my squads of 5, I'll have 3 spears and 2 shields, but 1 shield is the Vexilla, essentially. Yeah. So I'll have that 1 shield. And the reason is because 4 wounds does actually matter. It's saved my ass on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't overwhelm on shields is because, again, it's only 1 damage on the Sentinel Blade. It is worse in every way.
Yeah, it's less strength and less damage.
Yeah. But another reason why you want the Sentinel Blade, and maybe you want to kill off a spear, and this might blow your mind. I heard of this strategy. I saw the strategy being used, and I'm like, oh, that's freaking genius. You know, there are some secondaries that basically say you have to be able to shoot in order to do this action.
Yes.
If you have a pistol, right, and you're engaged in combat, you can shoot in the close combat, ergo, you can do that action, the shooting phase.
Yes.
And most action secondaries are in the shooting phase. Yeah. So they can, if you save that pistol, let's say you killed off a spear, and you save that 1 dude with a pistol, and you pull the, I don't know, what's the one you put it on? Is it Cleanse?
I don't remember the names.
It's either Cleanse or Teleport Homer. I can't remember. But if it's Cleanse or Teleport Homer, you can literally be like, all right, I'm going to cleanse this objective. And then we'll be like, no, you can't. You have to be able to shoot. And I'm like, aha, I have 1 dude with a pistol. So it's actually very useful to intermix.
Yeah.
You gain more, you get less damage, obviously, but you gain much, much more versatility in your ability to do things.
And this is an army, you're going to have quite a bit of damage anyway, so putting a couple shields in gives you the extra wound, which is big, because 3 damage weapons, they are prevalent enough, and that's something this army is worried about. And like you said, being able to save that one pistol, because you could always pull that secondary, absolutely, I would save 1 just for that.
Yep. It's very, very stupidly helpful.
Yeah.
And that's what's actually, I think, ironic, that's in the Astro Militarum game you were talking about, that's exactly what I did. They were engaged with tanks, and I was like, cleanse.
Yep.
And it got me like a lot of, I think it got me like 8 points or something. It was something ridiculous. So yeah, it's actually a super useful. It's useful not for the fact that you gain the wound, which is also useful. It's more useful for the fact that it can gain you some points.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah. And this, this is a battle line unit, so this is a bread and butter unit. You're absolutely going to see these guys.
Oh, stand vigil real quick, because some people were. You can when a character's attached, remember they also get stand vigil as well. Some people forget that.
Yes.
So like if a blade champion is attached to this, he will be rerolling ones and or rerolling everything if you're controlling that objective.
Yeah, the way they have worded it now, as absolute truth, I would still like them to have not said it 4 different ways, because there's some spots where they say it. But when they say the unit gets something, the character is part of the unit.
Wait till we get to Trajann and I get to make my joke. I don't think he's going to get, maybe he'll get in this video, but I get to make my joke. I made John cry. I made poor John cry.
All right.
Damn.
We are done with the Guardians. We are to the Wardens, which is not really a different word at all.
No. So Custodian Wardens are exactly the same stat line. You have movement 6 up to 6 to up save with a 4 up invul, 3 wounds, 6 leadership, 2 AOC, deep strike, motion control, all that. They do not get sword and board though. They get the spear, which is exactly the same, but they do trade off the axe. And I'll talk about the axe in a second. Their special abilities. Oh, sorry. Their war gears. They could also take a Vexilla. Also, real quick, cool thing about their Vexilla, Dave. They're the only unit that can trade their Vexilla for an actual weapon. So the other one, you had to trade your spear for the Vexilla and get a dagger. These guys can keep their axe or spear and still have the Vexilla.
Oh yeah, it's just they can just be equipped with it.
Exactly. Yep. So they're better at carrying the Vexilla. So they have 2 special abilities. So while the character is leading this unit, please have a character lead this unit. Each time an attack targets this unit, if the strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness characteristic of the unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. Basically, this is old version of this is kind of like semi-transhuman-ish.
It's pretty close to it, unless the strength of the weapon is exceedingly high.
Yeah, like triple, I think is what it is.
No, be double. It's minus double, 1 from the wound.
Threes.
It would make it to 3s, yes, but you'll never hurt them with less than a 3 because it's minus 1 to the wound roll, not minus 1 to the strength.
So this is very, very good. This basically transhuman up to strength 12.
Yep.
The Living Fortress, once per battle at the start of any phase, you get a 4 feel no pain, period. It's not against mortal wounds, just a 4 feel no pain. And it lasts until the end of the phase, not the turn. So this is again one of those like, oh shit, I'm getting shot by the entire army, 4 feel no pain.
Yep.
And it helps. Let me talk about the axe. Actually, no, before I go into the axe, Dave, I did mention this.
Yes.
Look at the unit composition.
It's 3 and 6. 3 for 150, 6 for 300.
How many come in a box, do you think?
5.
Yep.
Good. That's what I want to hear. They make you buy 2 boxes.
And you can make a shield captain out of them. So in all literal variations, it does not work.
Wait, so if I'm looking at Guardians versus Wardens, is the real difference model wise the weapon?
And the cloak and the tabard.
Okay, so there is actual differences. Because when you said you could make a shield captain out of it, I was like, but if I could already do that before, can you only make one shield captain?
Do you want a crotch tabard or not? Also, their poses are different. Wardens, the legs are always very much standing or kind of walking forward or like resolute Wardens. And the Custodian Guard, all of their legs are sprinting or bracing. So you can it doesn't seem like much of a difference, but you can actually quite tell the difference between them.
Okay.
And the butt tabards do help.
And the big thing is that they are literally different models. Can you only build one captain out of the box?
That's a good question. So captains usually get built by having a back cloak on them.
Okay.
There is only 1 cloak per box. So
okay.
Yes, technically, but you can also just kind of make one as shield captain if you want without a cloak or tabard.
True. Or if you had 2 boxes of Guardians that you did, you could probably put their spare 2 cloaks on the Wardens. You might have to do a little bit of modeling, but you could put theirs to get it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, the axes. So I know me and Dave were talking about this, and I did pull up the math, or I did try to pull up the math. I couldn't find it. But the axe. So the axe shooting is all the same, by the way. It's still strength 4, AP -1, do damage, 24 inches. And it's still assault. The axe in melee. So you lose an attack. So you go from 5 to 4 attacks. You lose a hit. So you go from hitting on 2s to hitting on 3s. You do go to strength 9. You lose an AP. So going from AP2 to AP1, and you gain a damage. So damage 3. So, and I wish I could find the stupid math on this because someone legitimately did it. The axes, even though they look cool at strength 9, damage 3, are objectively worse in every way compared to the spears. Because of how much they lose. I think, and don't quote me on this, I think it was against toughness 9, 4-up save models, the axe is great. Against everything else, spears beat out axes. And then he did the math on like why. And the first reason is because of the AP. The AP being -1 is actually the worst part of it. Mostly because some armies can just ignore the AP -1, right? So you become AP 0. But AP 1 really doesn't do much, or it really does a lot to doing the damage.
Okay.
I think next was, this is where I always forget, it was either attacks or weapon skill. I think it was weapon skill, believe it or not. That was the next worst.
Okay.
And then it was attacks. Losing one attack actually doesn't affect the statistics that much. Now, I don't play to win. Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. I don't metagame. I have axes on mine because I think axes look phenomenally better than the spear, in my opinion. I don't know because I play dwarves. I think axes just look so much cooler. I mean, look at it. The axes just look so hefty. Also have the barrel drums. The barrel drums, I'm a sucker for barrel drums. Always a sucker for barrel drums. But they do feel bad. When they work, when someone fails those saves and you get those 3 damages through, they're beautiful. They're great. And they actually, I think against demons, they're the best because demons don't care about AP -1.
Yeah.
But if you're swinging into like tanks with a 2-up save or dreadnoughts with a 2-up save, terminators with a 2-up save, it is objectively a bad experience. And I do kind of wish right now the math doesn't support axes at all. You always take spears. I don't think they should change the AP because that would actually flip it so that axes are always better than spears, period.
Yeah.
I think all they do is just make it hit on 2s. Because that's literally the middle ground. It makes it so that axes are better against certain things and spears are it's like 50-50 essentially.
Well, what they might do in the future might be points.
Or
The
points,
cost
true.
would do it.
Although here's the funny part. They were all free. There was no difference of points between axes and spears in any 8th or 9th edition. And in also 30K, ironically. There's no they're both free options.
I don't claim to be able to sit and do the math in my head. It would actually take some time to do.
Yeah.
I can see some of the argument though, because when you go from 7 to 9 in terms of your strength, now you do have other cases where you're say wounding on 2s when you're talking about base Marines. Yes. So it is in general better to have a better weapon skill and wound worse rather than the other way around, because it's more statistically you can talk about the interchangeability. But the same reason why, not twin link now because that means on wounds, but it's better to have 2 shots than 1 twin link shot because you can get more. I'd rather there be more dice going in that could get me my results rather than having fewer dice with an easier result.
It's they hammered it too much is essentially what it came down to.
I'd have to sit down and do the math. I don't think it's that far off.
Oh, I will
and
find it.
I think if you change one thing, I think any of them, you might change it too much, might be the problem.
It's the AP. So the AP is you don't touch, right? You don't touch AP because that was literally...
Even hitting on 2s, now that weapon in most cases is objectively better unless you're going against a toughness 3 model.
Here we are. So for 10th, I'm not going to read all of the math, but I'll read the TLDR.
Okay.
For 10th, axes are worse in everything except T8 4+ save. So whatever T8 4+ save is. T14, 3 wound models with a 4-up save, and some breakpoint situations where AP doesn't matter. Think demons.
Okay.
In order of what flips the graph the most, from bottom to top: attacks, weapon skill, AP. So flipping attacks makes it more balanced, less than spears. Spears are still better, but it makes it less harsher of a choice.
Okay.
Weapon skill makes it the most even, but then that you run into the problem of, they're higher strength, they should be hitting less. And AP actually swings it completely in the other direction.
Yeah, it feels a little bit weird, but I mean, we'll see. If that's the worst thing that comes out of this, then they have 0 problems whatsoever.
It's such a fringe case. It's a really weird fringe case. I understand why they made it hit on 3s because
Yes.
that's kind of that makes sense. I don't get the less attacks. That one to me was weird, but whatever. I still play axes because they honestly look awesome. They are probably the coolest looking axes in the game. And again, barrel drum. Ooh, come on, it's a freaking barrel drum, bro.
Yeah. And these guys are essentially said 50 points each. You can take a squad of 3 or 6.
Yeah. Oh, God, 3 or 6. Go home.
When we get a little further, we'll talk about what sort of things. But essentially, it's similar profile, a little bit different weapon options. So depending on exactly what you want and different abilities.
Exactly. And the abilities. That's the big thing that changes.
If you want a certain ability, take these guys. You want the other ability, take the Guardians. But that will put us to the Alerus
unit that you got. Yep.
Thickums. So Alerus, these guys are, you can take 2, 3, 5, or 6. Excuse me, they're 65 points a guy. So differences for theirs. They're 1 move slower. They're move 5, but they're toughness 7 because their armor makes them even larger than they already were. The 2-up save for Binvol. They're 4 wound space on the 6 with the 2 objective points, of course. They have Slayer of Tyrants. Each time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets a character, monster, or vehicle unit, you can reroll the wound. So when you go against something special, that is their job. And from Golden Light, once per battle, at the end of your opponent's turn, if this unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units, you can remove them. And in your reinforcement step, you bring them back down 9 inches away. You're a 5-inch move, and if you cleared off a spot, you can now at least leave and come back later.
This is huge.
Yep, they have a Vexilla just as we saw the other models.
I used that from Golden Light for so many secondaries. I think I flipped an 8-point lead.
Yeah.
Just because I was able to deep strike 2 of these guys in the corners to deploy teleport orbers. Stupidly good.
They come base with a ballistic grenade launcher and a Guardian Spear. You can replace the Guardian Spear with a Castellan Axe or with a Vexilla Misericordia. All those weapons are the same that we've discussed. I'll talk about the grenade launcher, of course, but all the other ones are the same weapons we've seen. The same weapons we're going to keep seeing. So essentially, if they choose any of the other 2 shooting options, they're always 2 attacks on force, -1, 2 damage. The grenade launcher is a blast weapon, 18 inches, D6 attacks. So D6 plus 1 for every 5 you got. Strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage. Remember, you can fire all of your range weapons, so they have both. Because even if you swap out the Guardian Spear for the Castellan Axe, in range, that's no different. So you're going to have 2 weapons, you're always shooting at range. In melee, it's all the weapons we've talked about. So it's the exact same profiles and things that we've been looking at. The big things is, if you take the Vexilla, you get downgraded just the Misericordia, you lose the Axe, you lose the Spear. So that one model, if you want to do that for additional objectives, you are actually losing out on a pretty good weapon.
Yeah.
These guys are probably too expensive to run large.
Yes.
So
but
I probably wouldn't do the Vexilla on either. These guys are probably more tactical strike than anything.
So I've seen no lists ever taking a Vexilla with them.
Yeah.
Ever.
You lose too much.
But I have seen large squads of them because the grenade launchers blast and because Necrons are a thing. So what I've seen is someone deep strike. I think it was like, what is it? 6 is the largest? No. 6, yes.
6, yeah.
Taking 6 of them and a shield captain in Terminator armor that can attach them, deep striking 9 inches away from a Necron blob and just blowing them out of the water.
Yes.
Because then you have...
It's the amount of dice that you throw and the amount of attacks you have. You just have so many.
Yep.
You have 6d6 plus potentially plus 4 if it's like a 20-man block, all in 1 damage,
so
which is good.
Plus 24.
Yeah.
Yeah,
plus 4 each, I say. So plus 24. And then you still have 12 more shots, not counting whatever the captain has.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, that's...
So it's funny that...
points, but...
Yes, but it is very much a horde clear. I don't like taking 6 because it's too unwieldy, too big. And I've been finding that like 3-man blobs are sometimes even too big. I was having problems against the game against Josh where I was using them to get to the corners, but he actually blocked me out. And a 2-man group was able to they just fit in the corner, but a 3-man group was way too big.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. But yeah, no, these are great. Excellent secondary people, but also the reroll to wounds is just great too.
Yeah, they're good to take out something big and heavy, which is why you don't want to strange out your weapons, or go do something, leave, come back to another spot. You pulled a particular... I've handled what I need to. I had them in a weird spot because they deep striked in. They scored me the secondary they need. I'm going to pop them away, and they'll come back down when I know my next secondary, and I'll put them just wherever I need them on the board.
Exactly.
So I could absolutely see a two-man unit to achieve the goals rather than necessarily doing much else for you. All right. That takes us to, once this thing goes, there goes, Vertus Praetors.
I think they put the leaders at the end. I'm laughing because I think they literally put the leaders at the end this time.
Yes, they did.
So Vertus Praetors are your bikes. They did not do good this edition. Good, because they were over. I hated them last edition anyway. They were really good last edition, and everyone took 1,000,000 of these.
90 points each. You could take 2, 3, 5, or 6.
Yeah, they're not worth 90. So movement 12, toughness 6, 2-up save, 4-up invul. I'm probably just going to ignore the save because everything's a 2-up.
Yeah.
4 wounds, leadership 6, 2 OC. They have 2. Everyone has 2 skills anyway. So they can turbo boost each time this unit advances. Do not make an advance roll. Just add 6. So they can
auto advance 6.
Move an auto advance. So they move 18 if you advance. And Quicksilver Execution. Once per battle, after this unit ends an advance move, you can select one enemy unit, excluding monster or vehicle, that had moved over during that move. Then roll a d6 for each model in this unit. For each 2+, you inflict 2 mortal wounds. So
that's stronger than most people's fly over mortal wounds.
It can do some mortal wounds. It is 90 points a bite, though. And then you'll notice here with the weapons, it's also not great. So, Salvo Launcher is 24 inches, 1 attack. It's on 2s, strength 9, AP 2, 3 damage. Or a Hurricane Bolter, which is 18 inches, rapid fire 3 with 3 shots, so it could be rapid fire 6. Twin linked. Oh, that's right. It's twin linked now. It's reroll wounds. 2 to hit, 4-0-1. So the bolter. The Interceptor Lance is a lance. So that's +1 a wound on the charge. 5 attacks. 2s to hit, strength 7, AP 2, 2 damage. Statistically, they look solid, right? Like the card looks solid.
I agree.
The problem is the points. They're 90 points a pop. And they don't really fill a role right now. At least what I think. Maybe statistics are backing me up, but I'm just pulling shit out of my ass right now. But the Salvo Launcher is great, but it's strength 9. So you're going to be hitting heavy-duty infantry, right? An AP -2 will be invulnerable saves 24 inches. Hurricane Bolter is just worse. Just never take the Hurricane Bolter. And the Interceptor Lantern is great. At strength 7, AP 2, 2 damage. But again, the problem is they're 90 points a pop. And it's just it's a lot of points for the bike unit.
I think one of their big, I guess we'll use the word downside, is that their Quicksilver Execution, where they get to do their mortals, is after an advance. There's a lot of other ones that are after normal moves. This is after advance, and your ranged weapons, whichever you take, are not assault. So you cannot advance and shoot them. And in general, you can advance and charge. So I'm either doing mortals to you, and I'm doing a good amount of mortals. On a 2-up, 2 mortals per. That's actually very, very nice. But then that's all I'm doing. The last thing I want is Custodes to do more. But I think if they changed it that said after a move, and maybe make it 2-up to do 1 mortal instead, then I think you'd see a bigger spot for them.
Yeah.
Because right now, you're either doing one or the other. And you want to be able to get a little bit of both. You want to be able to go over someone, cause a couple mortal wounds, shoot into them, then charge into them to kind of finish mopping them up.
Yeah. I'm not angry that they're bad. Not bad, but I'm not angry that they got downgraded because last editions they were just...
Yeah.
They were overbearingly stupid, and I did not like that. It gets kind of boring to see the same 15 bike unit thing. It's just... Even though they didn't win, which is funny, but it was the better option.
I see. I'd always rather see a unit a little under than a little over.
Exactly.
Because, that means you can still play and have fun with it. Just don't necessarily bring them to your tournament. But if you just want to have fun on like Friday night when you play games, this unit will still perform for you.
I'll still perform.
Doing those mortals, if you have a nice squad size, you're on that objective, I'm going to go over the top of you, do a bunch of mortals that you can't stop, and now it's my objective. Next turn, I'm rushing somewhere else. So you can have fun with it still. All right. That will be the Vigilators. This is now going to take us to the first of our variety of sisters units.
Yeah, the Prosecutors.
Yep. So put these in the middle.
Probably the most boring, but also the but the most useful. Actually, these are the guys that I take in my list. By the way, I added them to my list, a unit of 4.
All right.
So movement 6,
did
toughness
you do
3.
the last one?
No, I did not. So what I did was I dropped the Blade Champion.
No, that's not what I said. Didn't you just do the Vertus
Praetors? I did do Vertus Praetors.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Stepping on me here. Look at that. That's fine. Okay. So they're 10 points a model. Essentially, you can take 4 or 5, 9 or 10, because I'm assuming they can make a special character or something.
Yes, they can. The Knight Centura.
Yeah, of course they can. Yeah, I knew that.
Shocking, I know.
Yeah. But we have a different profile, so we'd have to talk about it. They're move 6, toughness 3 on a 3-up save, because they're ladies in Terminator armor. Ladies in Space Marine armor, I should say. 1 wound each, 2 objective points, and leadership 6. Is everything 2 OC?
Yeah, I think
or
so.
up, I should say. Nothing's like 1. I haven't seen anything.
No. The Vigilator Sisters and the Witchseekers are 1.
Got it.
Everything else is 2, though.
Okay.
They're just 2 because they're a battle line.
Got it. So these are Daughters of the Abyss. They have a 3-up feel no pain versus psychic attacks. They have the Purity of Execution. Each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets something that's a psyker, you have precision and devastating wounds. So they're very, very good against psykers. Not surprising. They have a bolt gun and a close combat weapon. Their bolt gun is a bolter, as we always have seen. 1 attack, but rapid fire at 24-inch range, so rapid fire, double on 12s. Hits on 3s, strength 4, 1 damage. Close combat weapons, 2 attacks. They're on 3s. Strength 3, 1 damage, because they are strength and toughness 3, essentially, for what it used to be. They are cheap. That is probably a very useful thing in this army. They are probably pretty decent at, say, grabbing a backfield. And if you happen to have psyker stuff you're going against, that's fine. But I'm not overly concerned about it even then, because I think your regular guys just do a better job. Precision and devastating wounds are nice, but I'm still only on 6s with that devastating.
Yeah.
And I'm only I'm looking at range attack. I'm looking at a bolter, and I'm only 1 shot, maybe 2 shots. I'm maybe only getting 1 or 2 mortal wounds on you out of my full squad.
I took a squad of 4 because I had 40 points left over, and I needed someone to hold my backfield.
I think they fit that perfect. Go and sit on the backfield. Do nothing else.
Yep. It's 40 points. They used to be 70 or 60 points for like 5 of them. They were way more expensive at the last edition. Now they're 40 points. I can manage 4 of them.
This way you don't have to worry about trying to sticky your objective or anything like that. They can just sit there. You'll have those spare points because of all the costs of the things that you have. But not too much else with them. I think they're okay. And when we get to a Rhino, obviously, then they have some modes of transportation. But
I get a good unit next. I love this unit.
Yes, you get the Vigilators.
They're very specific, but there was something funny about this unit. So, Vigilators, these are exactly the same, but they have swords, not bolters. Same stat line, movement 6, toughness 3, 3-up save, 1 wound, leadership 6, 1 OC, though, because they're not bad line. Daughters of the Abyss, they have a 3-up field no pain against psychic attacks. Deft parry. Each time a melee attack targets this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So they are -1 to be hit. Executioner Great Blade. So this is the only thing they're armed with. They have no range weapons. It is anti-psyker 4-up, devastating wounds.
So there's an anti-psyker weapon.
Yes. It is melee, 2 attacks, 3s to hit, strength 5, AP 2, 2 damage. So funny enough, still a great weapon.
It's a good weapon either way. The number of attacks is very low. They're
But if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a squad of 10 kill Magnus. Or it was a squad of 6 kill Magnus. It was something stupidly small, and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, no, anti-psyker 4-up, devastating wounds is disgusting. The problem is it's anti-psyker. So if you're not playing against a psyker locale, if no one has psykers in your locality, then yay, I guess. Yeah. They're a little bit more expensive. 4 models.
15 points each.
Yeah, 15 points each.
Yeah, 4, 5, 9, or 10, just as before.
And you'll find out very quickly that Rhinos are not assault vehicles.
No.
So they can't come out of a Rhino and assault, which is kind of sucky. So they're great. They look cool. They're awesome. But in 40K, Like, they're not going to do you bad,
No.
but
Of the two sisters we've seen so far, these are the ones I like more.
yes.
Because the other big part is, all right, if the Psyker thing doesn't go off, so be it. I like that they have Death Parry, and I like that their weapon is a legitimate weapon. This is a unit that I feel I could actually take more than the bare minimum, who just wants on a backfield objective, and they could help make sure if you bring something towards my back that I can handle it.
Yeah. Salty Dan moment, by the way. In 30K, these girls are armed with bolt pistols. Somehow, 10,000 years passed, and they forgot how to use bolt pistols.
It's not that they forgot. They need both hands for those giant swords.
What are they doing when they're charging in?
Holding giant swords. You mean they didn't have like the bolt pistol in the sword or something else like the stupid Custodes do?
Gun swords.
Yeah, they need like the little. They need like the Predator gun just sitting on their shoulders, firing out bolters.
Oh, that would be cool. That would legitimately be awesome.
Yeah. I like them a lot more.
No, they do look. They do look. Oh, I made mention of this when we talk about 30K Custodians, but I'm going to make mention again now because now we have more listeners and maybe someone's listening to 40K. If you want to build a HQ sister, do not use the box. Do not use the box at all. Even though you can have now 4 sisters, do not do it. What you do is you go to eBay and you look for Ismelda Brazkov, right? Mm-hmm. Brazkov, something Russian. She is a Cursed City model. Each sister's box of 5 comes with 10 Sisters of Silence heads. I don't know why they do that, but whatever. Makes me happy. You buy Ismelda Brazkov, build her, leave the head off. Put a Sister of Silence head on it, and now you have legitimately a Sister of Silence model that looks like an HQ choice. And Ismelda is like $12-15 off eBay. Just do it, spend the extra $15. Do not convert one of the sisters. Because if you ever want to play 30K, they don't come in squads of 4, they come in squads of 5. So I'm going to put like a disclaimer there. Do not build one of the sisters as an HQ.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Currently on eBay, you see it for 20 or less.
Oh, so they did go up.
Yeah.
They did go up.
There's
but
some that are a
20,
little bit more, but in that's worthwhile than needing a whole nother box of these.
Exactly. So just want to put, literally you come with 10 sister heads per 5. You have the heads to use.
Yeah. All right. We are going to go to another bit of sisters. They're doing it for themselves over here. Witchseekers, they are also 15 points a model, same exact unit sizes, 4, 5, 9, 10. They are the same exact stat line that we've been seeing. So same cost as the last one, same exact stat line as the last one. They have Scout 6, so this is the first Scout unit that we've seen, which is actually very, very useful. They have Sanctified Flames, because they're carrying flamers. Each time this unit shoots, after it has shot, so that's one unit that's been hit by one or more attacks, they take Battle Shock. It's the same thing the new Infernus Primaris Marines do.
Exactly.
Their Flamer, of course, at North Cover Torrent, obviously 12-inch range, D6 attacks each, strength 4, 1 damage. And they have the same close combat weapon that we saw before on 2 attacks on 3s with strength 3, 1 damage. Is there a lot of Torrent weapons in the army? I do.
There's
like
one
more.
There's one more on the Telemon Fist.
Okay.
For Forge World.
Sure. What I found is that because I have one squad of my Infernus Marines done. I have another squad that I need to build and work on. But for those, they actually do work. I do like them in general. Giving someone Battle Shock is nice. Oh, they also have the 3-up Feel No Pain versus Psychic. That's a standard thing. Yeah. I do like a unit of Flamers. One thing I also like them for is for Overwatch related things. So if someone moves close enough, or if someone actually decides to charge you or right around there, then you can actually get, if you said have full squad of 10d6 auto hitting on 4s. Yeah, you're not hurting big and heavy things, but if they're taking anything light near you can start pumping some damage on them. And it's each time you shoot, you can go for a Battle Shock. So you might Battle Shock them at a point when it really matters for them. Maybe they're rushing in to grab an objective, and now you're going to stop them.
You're trying to decide which one you like the most.
Yeah, I think overall, I think I like this one the most. I think I like Vigilators next and Prosecutors the least. Vigilators, I like their weapon, but that's a close combat weapon in an army that's got close combat. This is a torrent auto-hitting weapon that can, say, either protect your backfield or do something good for you while the rest of your army, because you're pretty expensive, you won't have as many units, so you need to potentially be able to safeguard your stuff a little bit more. It might be able to serve you a different purpose than you have naturally.
Yeah. If I had 60 points, I would take Witchseekers. Because I only had 40, I took Prosecutors.
Yeah.
If I had those extra 20, it would absolutely be Witchseekers.
Yes, the Prosecutors are good because you can get an actual unit for 40 points, which is a rarity in this game.
Yes. It is super well, you can get the what is it? That stupid Inquisition squad for 35. The exaction for
yeah, if you start getting into some of the weirder options, I mean, like base sort of army things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's some weird things you can get for really cheap. All right, that gives us our sister things. Do we want to? Where is? Because they're the only ones who can get into the Rhino, right?
Might as well talk about the Rhino.
Yeah. What page is the Rhino on?
Although, ironically, there's only one sister HQ too. So if you wanted this, because after the Rhino, it's HQs and a Land Raider and Contemptor. But you can do the Rhino and sister HQ. And then from there, go to the other HQs.
I agree. I say we do a little bit out of order. So do you want to go through Aleya?
Oh, yeah, there's Aleya too. I will do Aleya. I will absolutely do Aleya.
Okay, so
she's amazing.
Got it.
So I'll do the Rhino, you do the Centura, and I'll do Aleya.
Okay.
All right, so Rhino, it's a Rhino.
Oh, wait, so you're doing the Rhino for... Oh, okay, the Rhino's after her. Okay. Yeah.
So, yay, the Rhino.
I don't think we've actually talked about Rhinos yet, though.
Have we not? Oh, that's right, because we've done... Oh, shit. All right, so Rhinos. It can carry 12 infantry infantry models. It can be armed with a hunter-killer missile. Just take it, because now it's free. 12-inch move, toughness 9, 3-up save, 10 wounds, 6 leadership, 2 OC. It's a Rhino, period. Deadly Demise D3, deck 2. I will say, hilariously, it does have Daughters of the Abyss now, which I laugh at because it didn't used to. So the Rhino does have a 3-up feel no pain against psychic attacks.
Rhino.
Yes, and I don't think the Rhino's different points from other ones. Where's the stupid Rhino on here? R.
No, it's probably an Anathema. Yeah, Anathema Psycho Rhino, 75 points.
I wonder if that's more. Do me a favor while I'm talking about this.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, Chick Smith's Marine Rhino. I wonder if it's more, if it's the same. I'm going to laugh. Anyway, and then self-repair at the start of the command phase. This model regains 1 lost wound. I think all the Rhinos are the same. There might be some differences. I believe
that's correct, yes.
Yeah. So Hunter Killer Missile, 1 attack, 48 inches. It's only once per battle. Strength 14, AP 3, D6 damage. It's a super missile that you shoot. And it's got a Storm Bolter, and you can attack with it with its tracks. Who cares? It carries 12 dudes. It's 12 girls, I should say. It's not an assault vehicle. If you have sisters and you want to carry them, put them in.
I mean, your sisters are already cheap, and Rhinos, now, especially in this edition, are quite survivable. So putting them in there isn't necessarily a bad way to spend a few points.
I'm not trying to insult the Rhino. If I sound like I'm being disingenuous, I'm not. The Rhinos, it's just the Rhino is a Rhino. There's no specials to this. Except for that 3-up save against field of pain attack or psychic attacks.
Yeah.
Tell me it's the same amount of points.
I'm going to tell you something that you're going to hate even more.
Is it cheaper or more expensive?
No, this is cheaper by about 10.
Holy shit.
And here's why I say about 10. Because it depends on which Rhino you're talking about.
Oh, fuck off.
Different Rhinos, depending on the faction, Rhinos are 80 or 85.
Oh, yeah, and Sarita's is 80.
Yeah.
Huh. I wonder if they get special rules too.
This one's 75.
No, I know. The Sarita's one.
Okay.
Adeptus, the Sisters Battle.
Soritas. Got it.
Soritas.
The base Rhino is 85, but if you are a sister... Sisters Rhinos, I want to say...
That's a Space Marine Rhino, right? That's a Space Marine Rhino?
Yeah, just Space Marine Rhino.
I'm going to check. I'm going to scroll down real quick. I wonder what... oh my God, there's so many... 253 pages.
Chaos is the same. One of them was 80. Oh, the Death Guard Rhino is 80. So Death Guard Rhino is actually a little cheaper than the base Rhino.
Oh my God, there's 253 pages for Space Marines.
Use the app. That's all I did. I typed
in the word Rhino. Right.
I did search for Rhino.
Jesus, I completely forgot it. You know what? I'm so used to their past app was so bad.
Yes.
I'm shocked from this app. Let me see here. I want to see if the Space Marine Rhino has Rhino. Does it have like a special ability? No, it doesn't. So we're cheaper, and we have a 3-up feel no pain against Psychic.
1,000 Suns pay just as much. Their Rhinos are 75 points. So
I'm just looking at abilities and stuff. Yeah, no other Rhino has abilities attached to it.
Nothing else special, no. Just, they're all essentially the same.
Because we're special.
Well, I mean, so... Now, here's the thing. So that can show good game balance because you don't need the same thing being the same everywhere in terms of points.
Yeah, true.
Because certain armies might need it a little bit more than others. This one's honestly probably 10 points less because it's a more expensive army. And if they upped it, you're probably not going to be able to fit it.
Exactly. But I'm just laughing that we get the Daughters of the Abyss. When previous editions, we never got it.
Yeah. It's a very fitting rule, and it doesn't do anything too crazy. You just don't shoot your psychic weapons at their rhinos. That's fine. It's a much more fluff than anything. But yeah, if you want to take a rhino, you have ways to take rhinos. And if you enjoy that, go for it.
Exactly.
If you really want to go towards sisters, it's not a bad idea because you're not super survivable because you're toughness 3 on a 3-up save. So
really quick, and the rhinos did add firing deck 2, so that's in the card already.
Yeah, everyone's firing decks 2 now.
And the Knight Centura, I just checked, so when you do the Knight Centura, everything on the FAQ is already added in the card, so I'm just going to get rid of the FAQ then.
Good.
Perfect.
Okay. But we're going through Aleya first.
No, I just talked.
Oh,
do Knight Centura.
Wait, so what did you say about her then?
I didn't say anything about Aleya. I did the Rhino, didn't I?
Yeah.
So I thought you were going to do the Knight Centura.
Sure, I don't think I do. Sure. Okay, so she's
Knight Centura's an HQ, yeah.
That doesn't matter to me. It's all good. There we go. All right, so I'll put some marks down. Okay, so Knight Centura. Let's see. What does she cost? Knight Centura, she's 75 points. She is the same stat line we've seen, but she's 4 wounds with a 5-up invul, but otherwise she's the base sister stat line. She is, of course, a leader. She also has Scout 6. She can lead any of the sisters' units. Do abilities confer? Does Scout confer?
Yes, it does. If the leader has it, it does confer it.
Okay.
Certain abilities. Like if she has Feel No Pain, that obviously doesn't confer to
but her Scout does confer. Very useful for ones that say have flamers or anything like that. She has Seeker's Instincts. While this model's leading unit, you get 2 inches to the move characters to the model in that unit and 2 to advance in charges. So essentially become move 8 on any of the sisters units and +2 on advance or charge. Good for all of them. I wouldn't worry about it so much on Prosecutors, but your Vigilators or your Witchseekers could really like this additional movement.
Oh, yeah.
She's another Daughter of the Abyss for the 3-up Feel No Pain versus Psychic. And she has Corner the Quarry. Each time an enemy unit, not monsters or vehicles, that is within engagement range of the model falls back, all models in the unit must do Dangerous Escape. And if they're doing so, and if that unit is battle shot, subtract 1 from each of those tests.
Oh, yeah.
So remember, what it is right now, it's naturally on 1s and 2s if you're desperate escaping out. That means if you're battle shot, 50% of the time you're losing a model.
Yeah.
She is equipped with the Executioner's Great Blade, which is the weapon that we talked about before.
It's all the same, yeah.
Yep. Or she has options. She can go to a Mastercrafted Bolt Gun and a close combat weapon. Mastercrafted Bolt Gun is just a bolt gun that's damage 2 instead. She hits on 2. She has a little better ballistic skill, but otherwise it's the same there. Oh, and her close combat weapon is the base close combat weapons we've been talking about. Or she can have the Flamer, which is the same Flamer we talked about. So she matches the squad that she goes into. She can have whatever weapons that they end up having.
Or you could just give her a sword and stick her in a Flamer unit, and now you have some sort of melee. Yeah.
Yeah, she can match them. You're not required to, but her weapon options do match.
Yeah.
You could keep her with her sword, so your Flamer unit can fight in close combat well, or at least has some model that can do it. The Corner of the Quarry is interesting, although that's really only going to help you with Vigilators, because you need a close combat threat for that to be worthwhile.
Yes.
The Seeker's Instincts, the extra movement, especially when you give Scout to the unit, is actually quite good. Do you ever take this?
No, but I have taken Aleya.
So why don't you take this one? Just doesn't do enough, or you don't have
No,
the points?
because Aleya, even though Aleya fits in more with, I always have like 10 points left over whenever I try to build with sisters.
Yeah.
I usually have 10 to 15 points more. So Aleya just fits better in what I want to do. But I would take her if I had another squad of Vigilators. Absolutely.
Yeah, Leia's 80.
Like, she's not bad.
This is 75.
Yeah, not nice in tourism. Not bad at all. I just have the points to take Aleya, so I take Aleya.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason.
Yeah. If you're focusing on sisters, you get a lot of good out of this, and I could absolutely see this so much farce.
She does have a 5-up in
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could see her in Vigilators or Witchseekers. I would like her in either of those units. All right.
But Aleya is better. We'll talk about why she is.
Yep.
So Aleya is 80 points. Mm-hmm. Same exact stat line. Still 4 wounds as well. She has Feel No Pain 5-up. Neat. She's a leader with also Scout 6. She has this extremely powerful ability. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have the Fight First ability. Boom.
So Vigilators. Excellent. Got it.
Yep. So Vigilators. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. If that unit is below its starting strength, add 1 to the wound roll if it's below half starting strength. So if you have a 10-man Vigil unit, if you lose 1, now they're hitting on 2s. And Daughters of the Abyss. She does have a 5-up invul. And her weapon is pretty neat. 4 attacks. Anti-Psyker, 4-up, devastating wounds. 4 attacks, 2s to hit. Strength 6, not strength 5. AP 3, 3 damage.
Yeah. Her sword is a special named Better Sword.
Yep. So, I mean, I have 80 points, so I take her. She's got the Feel No Pain, which I enjoy. Hasn't really come up because usually the unit she charges dies. And the Fight First ability. So, like, I'll stick her behind a building, close to an objective. Maybe he wants to charge me. They're going to fight first. And their Vigilator blades are scary.
Yes.
So, she's just neat for 80 points.
Yeah, if you're only taking one leader, let's say you're doing Custodes where you're not really leaning heavily into sisters models. For 5 more points, I like what she does. She doesn't give the plus to the move, so she does change a little bit of their thing. Like, I wouldn't put her in certain units. I wouldn't put her necessarily in Witchseekers. But if I wanted Vigilators, she's a great model for that.
Yep.
Getting the fights. Even in other options, Fight First still isn't bad, but... I do wish that she could be added to Custodian Guard. I know it'd be too much. It would be
because of Fight First. I know. But the reason I said it is because of
break it even more?
No, because of the fluff. If let's say Valerian, I wish there was like a special rule that if Valerian was all, because it's her and Valerian, right?
Yeah.
I wish that if her and Valerian were both in the same army, that they could be put in the same squad. Only because it would break it sadly. Because there's no points again. There's no differentiation of points for war gear or anything. But I wish there kind of was with that, because it would be really, really fluffy and really cool, because the two of them do actually fight together very well. So that's just me being fluffy and nerdy and liking the books that they're in.
I understand that. I never have a problem with those sort of ideas. The problem is as soon as you attach rules to models,
exactly, you change it, you break out. I think in the last edition, it's like they could actually swap spots in close combat, which was really cool. But that kind of everything got dumbed down a little bit. So I can understand why they did this. But also a really cool model, by the way. I don't think you can get. Hold on, Games Workshop. I don't think you can get her individually still. I think it's
the 2 of them together.
Which is fine by me, because Valerian's also pretty damn good. But let me just check real quick, because that's what is it, price high to low, I guess? Yeah, price high to low. I don't think you can get.
There shouldn't be that much to look through.
Yep. Together for 60, which is not bad. That's what, $30 a pop? It's not bad.
Yeah.
That's Although again, Valerian's face is awful. We hate Christopher Walken so much.
Nothing wrong with Christopher Walken. All right. So
scroll up.
That handles all the sisters items. We've now run through everything with sisters. We are now going to go back and start talking about some of the character options. Probably, we'll see exactly how far we get. But we're going to
that's your Warden Shield Captain. I should put that picture that they have for the card. That's the Warden. See how he has the butt tabard?
Yeah.
So that's the Warden version of the Shield Captain.
Looks like an old man.
Yes.
He is 120 points for this guy, so this is the base Shield Captain. when we get into some of the Imperial armor ones, there's also Shield Captain in blank, but they're going to change a little bit, but it's all the same sort of idea. He has the base Custodian stat line, except he's 6 wounds instead of the 3s or 4s and all those other numbers we've seen. Still the same 6 toughness, all of that. All the same abilities, obviously, for leader. So this particular guy can go with Wardens or Guard. That's his options. He is the Master of Stances. At the start of the fight phase, select 1 kata stance. Until the end of the fight phase, that stance is active for this model's unit in addition to the current active one. Once per battle, at the start of the fight phase, all stances are active for this model's unit. Mm-hmm. So having him means you get 2 stances every fight phase, and once per battle, you get all of them. Mm-hmm. He's also a Strategic Master, so once per battle round, you can select 1 model from your army that has this ability. You can do a stratagem for 0, even if it's already been used. This is the way that a lot of people get the fights first on 2 units and things like that.
I should point out it's battle round, not player turn.
No, yeah, it's
battle round is
both players' turns.
Yep.
So weapon-wise, he comes base with the Guardian Spear. It's the Guardian Spear that we've talked about. You can put him with the axe like we've talked about, a Sentinel Blade, or Sentinel Blade and a Presidium Shield. The Presidium Shield adds the +1 wound. If you wanted the Blade, then you're taking Blade and Shield. At some point, he will cost points for these sorts of things, and then you will differentiate.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, probably sticking with the Spear.
Yeah. It has to come down with the math. Spear is just better. Although he does get 7 attacks. So 6 attacks with the axe is better than 4, but it's still the Spear. Mathematically, it's still the Spear, sadly.
I mean, I don't mind if I was in a unit of everyone with spears or something like that this guy has the axe, because he does have the extra hits. He has already had the extra attacks, and that damage 3 could be a very useful profile at some points. Sentinel Blade, I don't care about getting 1 extra wound when you can't normally target characters. Yes, there's precision, but naturally characters are the last thing to take wounds, so I'd rather I don't have to take the wounds because I'm destroying your units rather than I have 1 extra wound to survive with.
Exactly.
1 more wound's not going to do you that good, I don't think. No, at least not on this kind of thing, so I wouldn't do any of that. But since Strategic Mastery is once per battle round, you're going to at least want 1 of these guys. I could absolutely see, depending on different units, and we're going to talk about other shield captains in the future, other ones who essentially just lead other units. And between that and Master Stances or abilities like that you could actually take more than 1 of these guys.
I think they all shield captains, specifically, have Strategic Mastery.
Yes.
Yes, they do. Yep.
Yes. But honestly, he's a good leader option.
Yeah.
Nice and strong and not too expensive.
Yep. Just solid choice.
Yep.
Do I get my... Yes, I get the Blade Wizard.
That's your favorite. Yes. It's not a wizard.
I know. We had this discussion. But he's a wizard because he whirls. His biggest glow up this edition. So Blade Champion, for those who don't know, came out 9th edition, and he only came out in a box. Like a box versus Gene Stealer Colts.
Ooh, I'm not
Custodians
sure.
versus Gene Stealer Colts. Yes, it was. So that was the only way you can get him. He was not sold individually. Now he is. He's also probably one of the coolest looking models. The way he's posed and the sword and the double sword. He also, for those who know, the face without the helmet is Henry Cavill. It's modeled after Henry Cavill. So that's the joke. So anyway, Blade Champion.
100 points.
100 points, cheaper than the Shield Captain.
Mm-hmm.
Movement 6, toughness 6, 2-up save, which, fun fact, is different from last edition. It used to be a 3-up save last edition. 6 wounds, 6 leadership, 2 OC with a 4 pinball. He has 2 abilities that are completely different from the Shield Captain. He has Martial Inspiration. While this model is leading a unit, you can reroll advance and charge rolls made for that unit. In addition, once per battle, this model's unit is eligible to declare a charge in the turn which is advanced. Very powerful. And then Legacy of Combat. You can target this model's unit with a Heroic Intervention stratagem for 0 CP. It can do so if you already target a different unit with that stratagem this phase. Less important because you have to have that unit within 6 inches and they had to have charged, so on and so forth. But still good for 0 CP if someone leaves it. If there's no room and someone charged within 6 inches, boom, you put him in. And then his Volt Swords. Again, this is what got the biggest glow up besides the advancing and charging. Same as last edition, you could choose between 3 different stances, all of which do different things. So you have Behemoth, which is precision. So this is your anti-character. 6 attacks, 2s to hit. They're all 2s. Strength 7, AP 2, 2 damage. But again, it's precision. Okay? You have Hyrcanus, which obviously is going to be sustained hits 1 and 9 attacks. These are going to be 2s to hit, strength 5, AP 1, 1 damage. And then probably the most commonly used one is Victus, which is devastating wounds, 5 attacks, less of them, but you hit on 2, strength 6, AP 3, 3 damage.
Yeah.
So you have options. And this, again, I love using this dude, not only for the advance and charge and because he also looks cool, but I love having options when I play a game. I love being like, oh crap, I got charged by, I don't know, 20 Hermagons. Let's go sustain hits 1 and Hyrcanus. He spins to win. Oh, I did this again, the game against Josh, right? Where I charged, what's that Thousand Sons? Ahriman. Yeah. Almost killed him. I didn't kill him, because he rolled very well in his 4-ups. But it was a very scary moment when you have 6 attacks coming in at sustained hits, or it was lethal hits. I made them lethal hits because that was one of the stances. 6 attacks with precision, that's kind of scary. And then devastating wounds. Devastating wounds, if you roll those 6s, turning those into 3 mortal wounds. Oh, it's and remember, most people give this dude the Veiled Blade. No, is it the Veiled Blade? Did I do that right? Yes, I think it's the Veiled Blade, the enhancement. So most people will give this guy 2 extra attacks. Yes. So really it's 8 attacks, 11 attacks, or 7 attacks.
Yes. Yeah, for your extra attacks, this is the guy who wants it.
Yeah. So he's, again, 100 points, solid character, gives your ability to advance and charge. I used to take 2 of them. I found that 2 of them was too many eggs in one basket, in my opinion, because then you lose the shield captain's ability for 0 CP. So now I kind of switched it to 1 blade champion and 1 shield captain.
Yeah.
So I lose both squads advancing and charging, but I gain more versatility.
Yeah. Since your units tend to be a little bit more expensive, and this guy only goes in guards or wardens, that means to take more than one of each of them, you have to start taking enough of those units, and maybe you don't start running out of points for some of the other stuff that you actually want. No, he's very good. 100 points, he's actually pretty cheap.
Again, we said this. I know we said this 100 million times, but heroes this edition are super cheap.
Yeah, but even when I compare him to some of the other heroes spend about that much, and this guy feels like he gets you a lot for those points, a lot more than maybe some other heroes do. But 100 points, I mean, that's all right. Maybe it feels a little cheap to me, but all right.
It is very cheap.
A couple things to skip over.
Page 31. I got you.
That's all right. I'll get there. There we go. So some other forms of shieldy captains. So now this guy is going to be in the Allarus Terminator armor instead. So let me take a look for his points. He's 120 points. So he's exactly the same cost. He will get more expensive when you put him on a jet bike by 25 points, but he's the same cost. I'm assuming he only goes with Allarus Terminators. Allarus Custodians. He is move 5 now. He's toughness 7 with 7 wounds, so he gets an extra toughness, an extra wound. Otherwise, he's exactly the same as we've seen. He is defiant to the last. If this model is destroyed by a melee attack, if it is not fought, roll a die. On a 2-up, you don't remove him. He essentially gets fight on death. So a 2-up to do fight on death for this guy. And then he has his strategic mastery that makes something 0 CP. His option-wise, he's in Allarus Terminator armor, so he has the weapons and options that Allarus Terminators do. The grenade launcher. Honestly, I take on base. Grenade launcher and the spear, I think, is a really good option for this guy.
Yep.
I don't think I would change
solid 120 points. If you want to shield captain with your Terminators, take them.
Yeah. Especially if you're taking a smaller squad, getting this extra guy in there with a few extra wounds, being able to give you some extra bits, and he gets a fight at the end no matter what, so you're even okay if he ends up going down early. You can maybe try to wipe whatever you're fighting, but I like the guy. I mean, you have to take something, so this at least gives you a spot to put different leaders. I've realized that with my Space Marines, sometimes I find that like the starter box Leviathan comes with 2 different characters and Terminator armor, but only 1 unit that it can go into. So like, okay, you want to take some Alerus, here's a guy you can take in them. You now don't have to worry about taking Wardens or Guardians if you don't want, or Guards.
The good news is our starter set, not our starter set, Combat Patrol is what it was called. Our Combat Patrol and then the bigger starter set, right? They came out for, actually, you can build it now with shield captains and stuff because of the way the squad sizes work. Okay. All right.
Now put him on a bike for 25 more points.
Yeah, this is what, 145, I think?
145 if you put him on a bike.
145. So he goes back down to toughness 6, but he does go to move 12. He does go up to 7 wounds, though. He still retains the amount of wounds. Has the same exact weapons that a bike has, so we're kind of it does get more attacks, though. So he goes from, I think, 4 attacks, 5 attacks to 6 attacks?
Yeah.
Whatever. So, 2 abilities, still has Strategic Mastery, the once per battle round, 0 CP, but he gets Sweep in advance while this model is leading the unit. Each time that unit consolidates, each model in that unit can move up to 6 inches instead of 3 inches. So I'm going to pause there because this is actually very important before I read the rest, because the rest doesn't really matter to what I'm going to say. Remember in this edition, and this is really weird to think about, and I don't actually like it, but whatever. Last edition, you had to fight, right, what you charged. Now in this edition, when I charge something, if I can consolidate into base to base with another unit at 6 inches and still be in coherency, I can do that.
Yes.
And these bases are long. These are the long jet bike bases. So if he's in a unit and you got 6 of these dudes and him, you can charge a unit, right? And then consolidate them 6 inches and tag multiple other units. As long as you try to get in base, because that's the big thing.
Yeah, you have to get closer. That's the main rule. And if you can make base, you must.
Yes. So that 6 inches is actually massive. Anyway, in addition, once per battle, at the end of the fight phase, if this model's unit is within engagement range of one or more enemy units, it can fall back as if it was your movement phase, or if not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, it can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. So you can fall back once per battle. At the end of, it says end of the fight phase. So yes, you can do it. So if it's your opponent's turn and you don't want to be there no more, go away.
Yep.
Just leave. And you have fly, so just go.
Yeah. It doesn't even doesn't have to be at the end of it. So you could even do it during yours if there's a reason why you would want to do that, or get away before they get the chance to start charging you with more units. They try to tie you down.
Here's what's and I was just going to say, you don't have to end outside of engagement range, which is very weird.
Well, no, if you're falling back, you would, because a fallback gets you out of engagement range. And the other one, it's if you're not engaged, you can make a normal move as if it was your movement phase.
Exactly.
You can't engage there.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. They word it well enough that you can't stay in combat or get into a combat, but you sure can leave.
Which is still good.
Yes. I guess his problem is that Vertus Praetors
are 90 points.
Yeah, they're a little expensive. So then throwing this guy in, you might be spending a little bit much, although it is at least a very fast unit. Although, what I will say, probably the other part that hurts them a bit, this is a nice fast unit, and a lot of armies would be love to pay some extra points for their fast units. But your army, almost everything else deep strikes. So you're a little bit less worried about the speed because you can pop down in the spots that you want, where a lot of other armies would have to hoof it across the board. You don't have to hoof it across the board, so you can be a little more picky about these fast units.
You got the man, the myth, the legend?
Yep, I got the crutch.
Hey,
that's what
actually,
he's absolutely crutch.
Ironically, less crutch than last edition, because there were some lists that don't have them. I think even one of the lists in Tacoma didn't have them. Less crutch than last edition because he was absolutely disgusting. But his points are so cheap this edition, so it's kind of you just want to take him. He's so cheap.
At the end of the day, to me, so it's you could do well without him.
Yeah.
But to put him in, I feel in almost every case you will always do better.
Yes.
And he makes you better. And unfortunately, I personally hate when there's a model that when you look at it, you want him in all lists. If you want him in all lists, that's a poorly designed model. That's a bad
design. I will say, though, he has gone through the funniest iteration of points changes ever. This man went from being 250 points in 8th edition to 200 points, down to 150, back to 180, and now he's what?
145.
Exactly. He has gone through the biggest gambit of points changes I've ever seen in a model ever. He started at 250 back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Anyway.
right. So look at this guy. He's move 6. He's toughness 6. He's got a 4-up. He's got his 2-up, 4-up, as we know. 7 wounds. He's on his leadership 5, so he's 1 better leadership than most. 2 objective points. He has feel no pain 5-up base. Very important thing to remember. He's a leader. Who can he lead? Guards and Wardens. Okay, that's what I thought. If he's in your list, he must be your warlord. Currently, that's very meaningless in the game, but one day it might matter. He is the Captain General. While he's leading a unit, you can ignore any or all modifiers to the characteristics of the models in that unit and or any roll or test made for models in that unit, including excluding modifiers to save throws. We've talked about this in the past, but that means if you have something that would lower one of my weapons' damage or anything like that, no. That is on my models, so you do not get to ignore it from me. I absolutely feel they need an FAQ for this.
Well, so yes and no. I'll say why in a second. So because this is the part where I say I made John cry.
Yes.
But no one ever's going to do this. So there are some abilities in the game that do this, and they specify what you can and cannot modify. Yes. Because he just says all, so it's all. So it's damage, hit, AP, stuff like that, right? Because some would say, you can't modify damage. Some say you can't modify my hit. So this just says all. So in my opinion, it's literally just all.
Yeah.
But, and don't ever argue this. Whoever's listening to this podcast, I will find you and I will hurt you.
No, you won't.
Yes. The rule book specifies your wounds as a characteristic of a model. So do not argue that if you put him in a unit, the unit is invulnerable because you can no longer modify their wound characteristic. Because that's the shit where Games Workshop listens to and will nerf bat everything they'll nuke the entire place from orbit. Stop. Just don't argue, please. Because that's the shit that gets you nerfed.
All right? What I will say is, to me, for 145 points, we'll go through his other stuff in a second, but 145 points, that ability should only work related to me, like their toughness, certain things like that. The fact that it works on everything at 145 because my weapon is part of my unit, that's a little much. That's way too much.
That's, I think, where the FAQ is going to separate it. That only means the stats, which I agree.
And I would be fine with that. I think he's still good, and he still does good for you.
But the problem with that is, then you have to reword. And there were a lot of them because some were like 12 other cards. Because there are a lot of other cards that say the characteristic of hit cannot be modified.
But then that's fine because it says hit. What I would like to see them do with this, and maybe if this is what they've intended it, but then I think he needs to change in other ways. But what I would like to think the intention was all modifiers to the characteristic profile. To call the top the profile.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Something like that. Okay, you can never count him as... nothing you have will ever lower toughnesses. Nothing you ever have will ever lower movement values. Nothing you have will ever lower OC. There you go.
Yes.
Technically, right now, Battle Shock they don't care about.
No.
Yeah, they're OC2.
Oh, wait, no. Developers commentary did say they do go to 0.
Okay. Which counteracts exactly what this says, which means...
And actually, let me check. While you keep talking about him, I will look up developers commentary because...
pull that up, because that means this wording is not well done yet.
Yes, hold on.
Okay. So Moment Shackle. Once per battle, at the start of the fight phase, he can select one of the following effects until the end of the fight phase. His axe is normally 6 attacks, so he can make it 12. He could have a 2-up invul save, that's gross. Or his unit has fights first. Gross. He can do really good things.
I like it. Gross.
Yes. For his axe in ranged, it's an assault weapon, 24 inches, 2 attacks, strength 5, AP -2, 3 damage. So a really, really good bolt gun. His melee weapon, it's 6 attacks. Of course, it's always on 2s. Strength 10, AP -2, 3 damage. So it's very, very good. And you could make it 12 once per game if that's what you need. Or if you're worried about being destroyed, you could give yourself a 2-up invul save. Or if you really need... 3 units to fights first, you could absolutely choose he gets the fights first, a captain gives the 0 CP use and spend 2 CP.
And I was wrong. It is a modifier, by the way. So, he ignores that too.
Yeah, so currently he ignores that. So his
I
units
played that
always
wrong.
OC2s for all their models.
Whoops. I played that hilariously wrong. Okay.
You played it. I don't want to think his ability means to do exactly the way they worded it, because that seems way too crazy for the amount of points you spend on this guy, for how tough he is and how tough the unit he's in. If he was like the leader of a sisters unit, yeah, go ahead, cool, because I can realistically take them down. What this guy's going to be in is going to be exceedingly tough to get through.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I don't blame anyone who takes them, because he is exceedingly good. So why wouldn't you take him? If he's like one of the best units,
I think the list
you're going to
that
take one of your
don't
best
take
units.
him, I think the list that don't take him replace him with a bike captain and take a unit of bikes.
Yeah.
They replace the warden unit with bikes, and they replace him with a bike captain to get more mobility. Because usually I place him in wardens.
Yeah. Like I said, you can deep strike a lot of your units, but since your units are expensive, you're going to have less of them. Starting less stuff on the board can absolutely be a very big danger.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Let's talk about Christopher Walken. I'm sorry, Valerian. So, Valerian, normal custodian stat line.
You think Christopher Walken?
Yeah, that's Christopher. That's zoom in on that face. That is 100% Christopher Walken.
I guess I would also say maybe a contemporary Jeff Goldblum.
The hair. It's the Christopher.
Oh, I agree.
Walken
The hair. Yeah, you'd have to change the hair for Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. It's got to be there. Anyway, so 6 move, 6 toughness, 2 4-up, 6 wounds, 6 leadership, 2 OC. So very custodian leader stat line. Feel no pain, 6-up. Marsh Kada, so Golden Laurels. Here's another cool ability. While this model is leading a unit, each time a melee attack targets that unit, worsen the armor pennant characteristic by 1. So I did the math on this one. There, and I forgot to count, there is a shit ton of melee weapons that are AP -1. So this actually helps a lot.
This is an edition where they've lowered the AP. The most common AP is 0. The next most common is 1.
And on a melee weapon where it's like -1, 2 damage, or just -1, 1 damage, you just say, no, I'm taking a 2-up. Yep. This is very good. Hero of Lion's Gate, once per battle round, you can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 rune roll. Who cares? Because you can also do a saving throw made for the model. In addition, once per battle, after making a hit roll, wound roll, or saving throw for this model, you can change the result of that roll to an unmodified roll of 6. So you always get a reroll of a hit, wound, or save. I think it's once per battle round. Yes, once per battle round.
Once per battle round.
And then once per game, you could turn it to a 6 automatically. Yeah. He has a spear, essentially a special spear, Gnosis.
Yeah,
it's an assault weapon, 24 inches, 3 shots, not 2. 2s to hit, strength 4 AP, 1, 2 damage. But in melee, it's 7 attacks. 2s to hit, strength 8, AP 3, 2 damage. So it's got a better strength, a better AP, and the same damage. But again, you're taking him for the support. You're taking him for the buffs he gives to the unit.
Yeah.
And he's cheap as well. He's like 120.
He's 115.
115, yeah.
Yeah. Heroes of the Lion Gate is very strong. The reroll, the wound, or say saving throw, isn't going to matter too much because you're not allowed to take saves on the character while the unit's there. Yes, but the character's there. But rerolling one of his hits or his wounds against this typical Marine, he's hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, on 7. You are statistically going to miss 1 on one or the other at least. He gets that back. Yep. -1 to the armor pen makes them very, very survivable.
And I was going to remember, he's usually in Guardians. He's going to be in a Guardians.
Guard and Wardens, yeah.
So Guardians get to reroll 1s anyway, and reroll all wounds if they're an objective, but reroll 1s on wounds to objective. So maybe you just want to reroll the hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's a pretty damn good leader.
He is good. I do hate his face.
It's an all. Hold on. Just back.
Do you own this? You own this model. I know you do. You own them all.
I put a helmet on him.
I agree. It is bad.
I normally don't. I do keep faces where faces are available. Sometimes I usually.
You're talking while facing away. There you go.
Sorry. I usually put faces on people who have faces. Although Trajann, I did helmet as well because I did not like Trajann's helmet head.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be honest. Like, yeah, his face is awful.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. It's kind of a shame that it's as bad as it is, but it is really, really bad.
Yeah, it is. Ugly Knot, I think, is next. Yeah. The ugliest. Oh God,
it's just a Ven Dread. It's fine.
So disgusting. Compared to the Forge World ones, this is awful.
That's okay. What I'm thinking probably, actually, from watching, we'll probably just go through the base stuff. We're almost done it. We got that in the Land Raider, and then we'll maybe save
How many
the
Forge World stuff is it? It's
there's
hold on.
2, 4, 6,
14.
7,
Or
8,
sorry,
9,
13.
10, 11, 12. There's like 13 or 14. That's too much.
It's
No
13.
way.
It's 26 pages. 26 pages. So 13.
Yeah. So it's 13 things. No. So we'll get through this. That'll give us a good stopping point after this. Because I mean, for anyone watching, this is almost somewhat getting close to 11, and I get up somewhat early, so I definitely can't go for that much longer. But we'll be fine for the moment.
The only thing I'm going to say is the Dreadnoughts finally get karate.
Yes, that is true. He is martial now. He's 185 points. So this is the first thing that's not a quote unquote human. At least in his look, he was. How do they feel about dreadnoughts? Are they okay being dreadnoughted or no?
Yes and no. Usually custodians, the moment they slow down, lore wise, like they a micro fraction, they take off their armor and they become what they call the eyes of the emperor. So,
okay.
I don't know how they do it, but they become spies. They go to worlds, they spy for the emperor. How a 9-foot tall demigod is hiding is fucking beyond me. But that's essentially what they do. They basically retire, and as per or they become inquisitorial agents. Right.
Okay.
But they take off their army, they remove their weapons, they become essentially, they still work. The only time they get interred is that in between period where they slow down and they retire, or they're just mortally freaking wounded.
Yeah.
Right. There's no like black and white. It's not like, and even bionics, they're okay with bionics as long as they don't slow down. That's like the key. If they cannot do their job up to the perfection levels that they were supposed to be doing with the bionic, they become eyes of the emperor. They retire.
Got it.
They only become interred when they get like fucked up, like
understood,
like really bad.
Yeah. All right. So 185 points is getting you a move 6. He's toughness 9, 2 up save, 5 up invul on this. 10 wounds on leadership 6, counts for 3 objective points. He deadly demises 1. He has an unyielding ancient. So this is something that the Contemptors in general have. The first time the model is destroyed, remove it from play without resolving its deadly demise ability. Then at the end of that phase, whatever phase it went down in, roll a d6. On a 2-up, you set it back up as close as possible to where it was destroyed. Cannot be put in engagement range with any units, and it gets d6 wounds back. All Contemptors have this currently. So you come back to life.
So fun.
He's equipped with a combi bolter, a multi-melta, and his Contemptor combat weapon. You can remove his multi-melta and put a carrier's pattern assault cannon on him. His close combat weapon goes at first. It's 5 attacks on 2s, of course. Strength 12, AP minus 2, 3 damage. So a good weapon. That is a very nice stat line. This is one of the few things we've seen that actually gets even above, say, the 9. This is something that at least can punch through these heavier opponents. Mm-hmm. Multi-Melta is what a Multi-Melta is. Has the Melta 2 shots at 18-inch range. Strength 9, AP minus 4, D6 damage, or D6 plus 2 if you're in the half range and all. He's got his Combi Bolter. Combi Bolter is in the fist. It is a 2-shot rapid fire 2. It's a Combi Bolter, as we've seen. The Assault Cannon, if you choose it, is devastating wounds on 24 inches. It's 6 attacks, strength 7, AP minus 1 damage. I would leave the Multi-Melta on him because this is the first instance we've had of anti-tank.
Yep.
Unless you're taking a bunch of the Forge World related things.
Or Land Raiders. Land
Raiders
are good anti-tank.
Yeah, we're going to get the... Yeah, absolutely. That's the last thing we're going to be talking about today. But I like him with the Multi-Melta because I need something to punch through the very heavy things.
Yep. I mean, just again, the reason he's 185, by the way, he's expensive, is because they know karate now. The ability to give him lethal hits, sustained hits, or -1 to be hit in melee is nice.
Yes. What's the base cost of Contemptor otherwise? 170. So he's only a little bit more than the normal Contemptor.
Yeah. But he has that flexibility. So...
Yes, he's a lot more survivable because of that stuff alone.
Yep.
So the -1 to hit, I think, is great for him because you're already at toughness 9. So a lot of stuff in close combat is going to hit you worse and is probably wounding you on 5s, maybe 4s, because you're not seeing a lot of close combat at much higher than a 9 on average things. Yeah, you're going to have something crazy, but... All right. I guess the last thing is a
but
Land
not
Raider,
least,
although it's
before the Forge
venerable.
World, yeah. I don't think the venerable means anything, to be quite honest. But
Old.
yeah,
Just means
movement
old.
10, toughness 12, 2 up save, 16 wounds, 6 leadership, 5 OC. I think that's a normal Land Raider stat line.
I'm looking that up now.
Yeah, deadly demise D6. Fun fact: the tanks know karate as well. By the way, so you need your tank to be -1 to hit. Do it. It's so stupid. It just wiggles. It wiggles in place.
He's cheaper than the standard Land Raider. Standard Land Raider is 275. He's 260.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, but the standard Land Raider has Oath of the Moment. That's probably why.
Yes.
Oath of the Moment. Yes. Okay. So yeah, you can make a -1 hit in close combat, which is just fucking hilarious. He wiggles. He does have an assault ramp, so each time a unit disembarks from this model, after it's made a normal move, it can still declare a charge. So for those who don't know, this thing can move 10, you disembark 3, and then you could charge.
Yes.
So you have a 13-inch threat radius, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 13 plus 2d6.
Yeah. 13 that you're at, and then your additional 2d6.
Yeah. And it's 1 to 5 wounds, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And it does hit on 2s, too. I think the normal Land Raider hits on 3s. Which is nice.
For Blitzkrieg, yes. That's probably what makes it actually venerable. Most Space Marine vehicles are all on 3s. Certain weapons, like the Hunter Killer's on it too, but everything else is on 3s naturally.
So you could take a Hunter Killer on this, do it because it's free.
It's free for
now.
now.
Godhammer is the Hunter Killer's to say the same, still the same thing, by the way. It's around 14, AP3, D6, 1 shot, whatever. Storm Bolter's a Storm Bolter. Heavy Bolter is sustained hits 1, twin linked, strength 3 attacks at strength 5, AP -1, 2 damage. And then the Godhammer Las Cannons are your normal Las Cannons. 2 attacks each, because he's got 2 of them.
Yep.
So 2 attacks each, strength 12, AP3, D6 plus 1 damage at 48 inches, but it hits on 2s, which is nice.
Yeah.
I bought 2 Land Raiders, so I'm going to be using Land Raiders in some of my lists. I just got to paint it. Because I haven't seen anyone take Land Raiders yet, but I don't want to play, I don't play competitively. I play for fun. And I totally want to take, how many, can I take 6?
How many people can go inside?
So here's where I hate GW yet again.
Why?
I want to stick Wardens in here, right?
Yeah. Do it.
Wardens are 3 to 6.
Okay, do it.
A leader makes them 7.
Don't do that then.
I can't, but all of their abilities work only if you attach a leader to them.
Take a 3-man with a leader.
I want there's empty spaces.
But honestly, that's really probably why you don't see them as much. It's not that it's bad. It is overall good. Last cannons are definitely good. That's something this army so far from what we've seen is absolutely lacking. But this is an expensive army. This is an expensive transport. And the fact that it's 6 instead of 7 means a lot of these units that you want to get to 6, you then can't take the leader. So you're kind of at a little bit of a disadvantage on that. I just think in an army where you're spending tons of points, you just don't have the spare points for an extra 270 for this.
Pretty much.
Because that 3-man unit, if you do that 3-man unit with the leader, they're like the same cost as this or more.
Yes, pretty much.
So you're looking at a quarter of your army, more than probably a quarter of your army for 1 unit in a Land Raider.
Yep.
You already don't have a lot. So it works well in, say, Space Marines because I have some cheaper units. I can get a couple extras. I can help hold my objectives. Putting some of this down, the fact that they're kind of together for a while, it means you have a lot less board presence. And since the name of the game is scoring objectives, it's going to be a little bit harder early. So, all right. That then will take us to final thoughts for this portion. Like I said, we'll go through the Forge World things next time. It's just too many things.
Because I was going to say, they're lacking anti-tank except the Land Raider, but we know Forge World has the anti-tank. That's why.
Out of the book, so out of base GW plastic, this is what we have here. So we're going to view this as pure base GW plastic.
So even pure base GW plastic, even with pure GW based plastic, this is still a great army. You don't need, even though Forge World is a shit. I think Forge World is 55% of the army. Hold on. There's 26 in Forge World, 13 and 40. Oh no, but okay, so 42 minus. Hold on.
But you're removing like 3 or 4 pages. Forge World's not quite half. It's like 40% of the list.
Yeah, but it's not damn near a lot. I think they're the highest Forge World to plastic ratio.
Yes.
But you can absolutely play this army without Forge World. You don't. This is even though there's a lot of units in Forge World, you can absolutely play a fully plastic army. Just taking Custodians, Contemptors, Wardens, Terminators, and hell, stick a Land Raider in there with some bikes. Still a very damn good list. They are very beginner friendly. They can paint up really easily, depending on what you're trying to do. The Martial Katas got fixed, so you're not having to explain like 20 minutes to your opponent what they do. They do play, so this is like the Eve problem. They do play easy, but they're hard to kind of win with, in my opinion. I know Dave might disagree here.
I absolutely disagree in every way.
Yeah, you have the 4-up crutch and everything, but every Custodian you lose does hurt. And so if you're playing like Space Marines with Oath of the Moment and you don't know how to hide your army or when to activate your stratagems or when to, do certain things, or like, let's say, picking up your Alerus and putting them someplace, this army does require some finesse because you have so little models, but it all is still easy to play. I don't know if that made any sense. It's easy to pick up and play. I can pick up the army. It's probably one of the easiest armies to play.
Oh, definitely.
But to win with does require some thinking, especially if you're playing against Genestealer cults or Eldar or even Space Marines. Because if you play against Space Marines and they oath the moment a squad and it's out in the open, that squad's gone. Absolutely, that squad's gone.
Yeah.
So it does require some tactics. It's not like a pick up and win army. It's not Eldar. It's not Eldar.
Okay,
but Dave can disagree with that.
If we go outside of the armies that obviously have problems, so let's not talk about Eldar. Let's talk about Genestealer cults.
Yeah.
If we go to the armies that obviously have problems, I think this can be one of the easier pick up to win armies. A few reasons. One, if you're playing against other people who are new, this army can be very, very different because now you suddenly have toughness levels that you're not wounding things the same way you used to. Normally, say you're playing Space Marines and all, you're used to wounding on 4s, maybe some stuff on 3s. You're not doing any of that here. You're doing that with your big heavy weapons, but your base stuff, so everything is sort of like a mini tank that you're fighting against. That can definitely throw the sort of curve of what it is that you're doing. I do think they have a lot of strength. Like I said, if you throw out the absolute top, I think they're probably one of the top armies outside of that. I think they play spoiler for a lot of things. We saw at Tacoma what they did. We've seen other spots. I think their win rate sort of hides how good they are because their win rate looks a lot worse than they actually are.
So again, I have their win rates up. So against Eldar, Genestealer cults, Space Marines, Necrons, Imperial Knights, their win rate drops below 40%. Right?
Yeah.
Against I'm not going to count Votan for Votan. Against Thousand Sons, Grey Knights, Astra Militarum is 50, so I'm not going to count that. I'm counting stuff that's like above 60, essentially.
Yeah.
Anything that's 50, that's even, right? So against Thousand Sons, Grey Knights, Tyranids. I guess the new stuff hasn't come out yet. Tyranids, Astra Militarum is 55, so I'm going to keep that in the 55. Yeah. That one I'm kind of back and forth on because it says 55.
You could just go past it. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So where was I? Sorry.
All those other armies, they're currently 60% or better.
Yeah, I'm scrolling down. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm just going through the armies. Apologies. So, sorry. So against Sisters, Thousand Sons, Grey Knights, Mechanicus, poor Mechanicus. See, the thing is, I don't want to count Mechanicus because Mechanicus is at the very bottom anyway. But Mechanicus,
but then you at the same moment, then you can't look at Eldar at all because they're at the top. Yeah. So there's still an army.
Mechanicus,
in the game.
Death Guard, they're 50 or 52, I should say. Demons, Orcs, Tau is 50. I guess Tau because of the amount of just 3 damage shots they have.
But okay.
Go ahead.
So let's talk about now. These are, where do you get the stats from?
So this is from not BCP. This is from, give me a second. This is from, well, it takes it from BCP. It's from a stat generator that uses BCP stuff.
Okay. Later, send me a link to it. I'll put a link in the show video.
Yes.
Here's the other part that I'm going to say about all these stats. So here is why the other way to talk about statistics is the art of lying. Here's the problem with these stats. These stats are coming from competitive tournaments. So if we look at a pure competitive scene, we can sort of see where this comes out. And we know, though, the average player, most people are not playing competitive. This game is probably, I don't know, 10% competitive, 90% everyone who's not. So if we're relying on the stats there, yes, they have a somewhat equal matchup versus, say, a variety of armies. But when you're playing against in a non-competitive format, when you're playing, essentially, I'm bringing what I feel like, I'm bringing the models I like that are cool. If your models are in general pound for pound stronger than mine, and I'm not trying to optimize my list, I think Custodes get a more optimized list much easier. Partly because of the amount of unit choices they have, but I think your list on general will be a stronger list than a random list that someone else builds. Competitive play, yeah, I mean, they're probably going to struggle against maybe
I'll agree
Elder
with
at
that.
many
No,
levels.
I'll agree with that. It's just because, and I think it's because their army is so built on that 2-up, 4-up, 4-up.
Yes.
It's no matter what you take, you're good to go. There's really no bad choice with them.
Yes. That's why I think, if you think about the ultra competitive level, they might not perform quite as well there. But if we think about where most people are playing, that's why I think of them more as a spoiler style army, because of the amount of strength that they have and because of how good they are, that if you're going for your pickup game on a Friday and you decide, hey, these are the models I have and I want to build it, it might not be necessarily a good time versus this. So I don't know what they would do differently.
The irony is that it literally depends 50-50 on your rolls too.
It does, but it always depends on people's roles, but they always have, at worst, a 50-50. A lot of other people have maybe a none.
Yeah.
There's many chances where you have a 16.7% chance or no chance. They always have a 50-50 no matter what you're doing. If you can roll average when you always have at least a 50-50, it gives you a leg up. Then I don't like all the gold, but that's me. I wouldn't want to do the gold.
You know my army. You've seen my army. I don't do gold. Although I will say, now that I figured out, have you ever seen my epic army, the Custodian epic army that I did?
I'm sure at some point, it's been a little bit since we've done anything with epic.
I figured out how to do the forge. So you see the Games Workshop gold?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Forge World version of them?
Yes.
So you know how it's like a different, more rustic gold?
Yes, it is.
Do you like that more?
I like it more.
Yes.
I still don't like all the gold, but I do like it more.
I figured out how to do that doing my epic Custodians. And while I love my Shadow Keepers, don't get me wrong. I love here. Let me take my camera real quick. So that way, it's on. You know what it is? It's
you got your background blurred.
Yeah, blur. There
we go.
While I love, for those who maybe haven't seen it or whatever, but you probably saw the video of me. I love the silver, right? I love the silver with the bronze, the inverse, the Shadow Keepers, right?
Yes.
But let me see here. Hold on. Give me one hot minute.
Remember that we do this as an audio only format as well.
Oh, I know. So now we have to listen on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's right.
Then you could see Dan's beard that way.
No, hold on.
You could count the amount of gray hairs. You could do that with mine, but it's going to be all. The answer's all.
It's so old.
Don't get old, kids. This is what happens.
Pretty much, back is all hurting. I got sciatica now.
It's when you get to your 30s when you realize you start calling things the good blank. So like you have your good knee, you have your good arm. It gets to be sad. Like all the memes you hear about when you get older, they're all true. Every one of them.
So to give you an idea, oh my God, Lord have mercy. This is the gold I came up with. I don't know if you can match that.
I could see it. I can see it there. So
it's
for anyone
much
looking
darker.
It's less darker. It's a less saturated. It's maybe the best way to describe it if anyone's not currently viewing this. But it's a less saturated gold. All right. Since we are an audio format, we're gonna try to steer a little bit away from that. But as Dan is there showing Epic, once Epic drops, we'll obviously do some stuff related to Epic. We'll hopefully play some games related to Epic. I'm hoping to get some more battle reports recorded shortly, but with my work schedule now, I haven't been able to get in the same way. I'm hoping to do something later on Friday. That's my goal. I was originally going to record some Conquest games on Saturday, although that's my anniversary, so I don't think that's happening. We're going to see some other stuff, but hopefully we'll get some more games in shortly. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So we do thank everyone who does listen. I said we do this in the audio format in any podcast that you listen to. We also have all of this on YouTube, as well as some other videos. Still hoping to get at least a few other things out this week we have to see, but I do have some time tomorrow. Although, since a lot of my weekend's taken up, I might try to actually do some form of game tomorrow. We got to see. For things that we have coming up, hopefully next week we'll make that Votan video. That's the hope for next week. We'll also finish this out next week as well. And then hopefully if Steve can get his sleep schedule back in order, we'll have some 30K stuff come out next week. We wanted to at least do that Raven Guard Rite of War because we let that go on forever. I'd like to start talking about inducti because those are a thing. I kind of want to do the inducti maybe just in a tier. So we'll talk about what they are, but we'll also tier them at the same time because I think that makes it more interesting. Otherwise, it's just a really boring conversation.
No, I agree.
And a few other big things with that. I said, hopefully we're going to get some other content out soon. I do want to get out some Conquest stuff that I've been working on. I've been painting a whole bunch of Shatterpoint, so I do want to start getting some more stuff out about that. I'd like to record some games related to it. Just depends on availability, that sort of thing. Was hopefully going to get a game in this week, but life just got a little too busy for the other person. So we will see about all of that. If you want to reach out to us, we have our Discord, we have Facebook, we have all those sorts of things. We have our email, craincakers@gmail.com. If you like our content and you want to support us, we do have a Patreon as well. The links are always in the show notes. If you have the means and you enjoy it, we ask you to take a look. Other than that, I think that is absolutely everything. So, on behalf of everyone here at the show, then, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.